Disclaimer. I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Title: One Piece, Adopting Doflamingo. Chapter 1 Dover, Call Dad. Chapter 1 Dover, Call Dad 1491 Hyuan Calendar. Somewhere in the North Sea a black figure descends into this world of pirates. The tall and straight figure patted the dust off his body, took out a black book out of nowhere, flipped the pages with his slender fingers. So it's here, that's just right. A deep voice sounded, and after finishing speaking, the book was closed, and the figure immediately turned into a ray of light and flew into the distance. At night, in a small town that was originally peaceful, it was now full of flames. On the tall buildings in the center of the town, two figures, one big and two small, hung on the wall. Their eyes were blindfolded, and they shouted helplessly. Surrounding the construction site were vicious villagers, holding torches and ignoring the feelings of the hanging people. Steel forks, bows and arrows, stones, and decent weapons were all pointed at the hanging people. A few years ago, the person who hung up was still a high-ranking Tianlong person, a nobleman of the world, who enjoyed the admiration of the whole world, and one of them, who was enlightened but dull, gave up his identity and came to Beihai with his wife and two sons. The Tianlong man's wife died of illness and poverty 2 years ago, and the remaining 3 people are now hanging on the high wall. Because of their original identities, they were approached by revenge. And one of the sons of the dragon people that day, under the attack of the villagers, aroused his domineering arrogance under the strong emotions. The fluctuation of Overlord's color spread rapidly around him, and the people around him fell to the ground one by one, even foaming at the mouth. The person who inspires the domineering look is one of the future underground emperors, Joker, Don Quixote Doflamingo. The other 2 who were also hung up were his father, and the other was his younger brother, Rosindi. The 2 of them also fell into a coma due to the influence of Overlord color. Young Doflamingo was also exhausted from his first outburst. 1 second before he closed his eyes, a black figure appeared in front of his eyes, and then Doflamingo fell unconscious. Oh! It seems a step late. When Doflamingo opened his eyes again, the bright light flashed in his eyes, the ropes on his body were no longer there, and there was a big soft bed lying under him. He stood up with difficulty while holding his forehead. Here is a luxurious S-room. Doflamingo wakes Rosindi, who is lying next to him, trying to wake him up. Rosindi, wake up quickly. Rosindi rubbed his eyes and slowly got up, opened his eyes. The scene in front of him surprised him. He rubbed his eyes again. Brother, I'm not dreaming. Where is this place? Even the Holy Land feels incomparable. Doflamingo replied with a strange expression on his face. I didn't know I was here when I woke up. The dirty clothes on their bodies have already been changed, and their bodies are clean and fresh. Click. The sound of the door opening startled Doflamingo, who immediately became vigilant. The one who pushed the door and entered was a stunning woman in a maid outfit. She ignored the reactions of Dover and Rossi, but bowed to them and said softly, "You 2 young masters, my master invites you to dinner." After speaking, he made a pleased gesture. Rosindi put her eyes on her brother, saw her brother gave her a look of leaving, and ran to Doflamingo with small steps, and tightly pulled on Doflamingo's clothes. It was as if he wanted to hide his whole body behind his brother. The maid leads the way. Hey, who is your master? Doflamin asked in a low voice. But the maid didn't stop, she just replied suicidally. When the young master sees the master, just ask him face to face. Afterwards, no matter what Doflamingo asked, the maid remained silent, and just blindly led the 2 little guys through the long corridor to a gate. There were 2 armored night guards next to the luxurious door. After a brief confirmation with the maid, the 2 tall knights opened the gorgeous door. Dover and Rossi were a little numb to what they had seen along the way, and they walked towards the bustling door as if they were going to die. Behind the door is a restaurant. There is only one person sitting on a long table. The one sitting on the main seat is a young man, dressed in a black dress, with dark eyes under his black hair. He is a foreign visitor named Adri. Adri lazily stretched out his hand to the 2 cubs, but Doflamingo guarded Rosindi behind him vigilantly. Who are you? Doflamingo questioned. Adri didn't care much and just said lightly, come over and have a meal first. You should be starving. It's not too late to ask after eating. It is true that the long table is full of fresh food, but they all tend to be light, but it cannot conceal that this is a big meal. Under the scent of food, it also aroused the appetite of the two. Rocindi's stomach even started to growl. They hadn't had a full meal for a long time. He looked at his brother helplessly. At this time, Doflamingo, who was also hungry for a long time, couldn't help swallowing in the face of these big meals, and looked at his younger brother's eyes looking forward to the food. Adri took a seat farther away. Rocindi still seemed a little cautious, as if he didn't believe the delicious food in front of him. Obviously he was tied up yesterday. You can eat freely. You have been hungry for so long and need to be replenished in time. Don't worry about me. I will answer your questions only when you are full. Adrian reminded. When Dover and Rossi heard this, they couldn't control their desire, so they went straight to it. Rocindi even grabbed a long loaf of bread and stuffed it down his throat, filling his entire mouth. Although Doflamingo was a little elegant, he choked heavily because he ate too fast. Adri gestured to the maid on the side to pour water, and handed it to the two choking little guys. Half an hour later, the two little ones were full, and Rocinante couldn't help but burped. Now they have to look at the person who sits in the first place. Adri didn't wait for Doflamingo to ask questions first, and said first, "Introduce yourself, Adri, the one who saved you." "Aren't you going to introduce yourself?" Doflamingo. "I am Rocindi." Doflamingo's expression remained unchanged, but Rocindi rushed to ask. "Excuse me, have you seen our father?" Doflamingo's face was not very good-looking. He always believed that it was their father who caused them to be in this situation. Adri didn't care about Rocindi's anxiety, but just narrated it calmly. "When I arrived, only you two were alive." Luoshindi's eyes became dull, and tears flowed down. He had already lost his mother, and now he also lost his father. In the future, only his elder brother can accompany him. Adri got up, but Doflamingo immediately became vigilant and wanted to protect his brother. "I won't hurt you," Adri stated quietly, and walked to Rocindi's side. But Doflamingo still stared at Adri, as if as long as Adri dared to hurt his brother, he would raise the knife, but to his surprise, Adri just looked at the crying Rocindi silently, then hugged him tightly, and stroked Rocindi's beautiful blonde hair with his hands, comforting him in a low voice. "Little guy, don't be sad, I will take care of you in the future. I decided to adopt you." Rocindi had already been sleeping soundly on the big soft bed. But Doflamingo was looking at someone in the corridor outside the door. "Rosie's little fool believes you, but it doesn't mean I will. You definitely have bad intentions." Adri chuckled. "Frankly speaking, I'm really not a good person, but I can give you a warm home, let you have enough food and clothing, and feel the happiness of your family." Doflamingo didn't speak anymore, just curled his lips. Adri looked up at the moon in the night sky, unable to return to his senses for a long time. His face became solemn. Then he looked at Doflamingo seriously. "Now, Dover, call Dad." Doflamingo turned and left, with blue veins popping out of his forehead. Adrian's voice came from behind him. "Dover, be my family." Typing is so tiring. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. I want to blow up the Holy Land. Chapter 2. I want to blow up the Holy Land. Bright morning. Adrian was about to enjoy the beauty of the morning when a maid at the side came to him, gave a brief greeting, and leaned into Adriatic's ear to report something. After hearing the report, Adri raised his eyebrows slightly. "Order to go down, close it first." "Yes, my lord." The maid replied respectfully and turned away. Adri touched his chin and said to himself, "Sure enough, it's fun to follow the plot." In fact, Adri told a lie last night. It was true that only the two little guys were alive when he left. As for the others, they were just cleaned up. Meanwhile, in the room where the two little ones sleep, there was a knock on the door, and then a serious-faced head maid entered. Her voice was neutral but majestic. "You two young masters, please get up." Not knowing why, Rocindi got up from the bed sleepily. Doflamingo was awake when he knocked on the door. Seeing that the two young masters were already awake, the head maid clapped her hands solemnly, and then a large group of maids filed in. Most of them are divided into two teams. One team serves one person. Under Rocindi's still confused expression, a maid has already helped her take off her pajamas, and then a maid holds a brand new dress and puts it on for Rosindi, and then a maid holds a golden basin, another maid took a towel and soaked it in a golden basin, and gently washed Rosindi's face. Rosindi is like a puppet, playing with the maid casually. But Doflamingo on the other side is different. He was very resistant to the maid's behavior, but the maid didn't force it. She just communicated with Doflamingo and tried not to touch the body as much as possible. Regarding Brother Ming's bad temper, none of the maids showed anything unusual. Soon the two brothers dressed up separately, and this exquisiteness was not inferior to the daily life in the Holy Land. Seeing the well-dressed brothers, the head maid nodded in satisfaction, then bowed slightly, and said, "Please also invite the two young masters to come with me. The master is already waiting for you to have breakfast together." The road that has been traveled, the two brothers are much calmer than yesterday. But Doflamingo seemed preoccupied, and the sunglasses he was wearing prevented others from seeing his eyes. Soon, they came to yesterday's restaurant, the same seat. Adri was still the same as last night. Out of politeness, Rosindi greeted Adri, "Good morning, Mr. Ardley." Adri just answered with a smile. "Good morning, little Rosie. You could actually call me by my first name." Adri greeted the two to take their seats. Now that the food is not ready yet, Adri started talking on his own. "Two little guys, you must be wondering why I adopted you." This is exactly the doubt in the hearts of the two of them, and both of them looked at Adri at the same time. "First of all, I know your experience, your past. You don't have to worry about this. What I see is that you have nothing to do with your identities, and even say that I can blow up the place where you were born now." Doflamingo is the first to laugh. Impossible. Adri didn't care, and continued to talk about his own. "I really want to treat you as family members. In the future, no matter what you do, you must know that I will always be your backer. In the past few days, you can go shopping here a few times and get along with me for a while. If you want to be with me then, you can answer me." Neither of the two villains answered, as if they were both thinking. After a while, breakfast was served, and in a quiet atmosphere, the breakfast ended quickly. Adri gestured with his hand, and a maid stepped forward. "Dover, Rossi, next, you are free to visit, and this maid will lead you. You have freedom of movement, you can see whatever you want to see," said Adri. Got up and left. Only Brother Don Quixote and the maid were left in the restaurant. The maid spoke first. "Two young masters, you can tell me where you want to go. There is a map in the central hall for your reference." "Then let's go to the central hall first," Rosindi replied. Doflamingo also nodded. It is very important for him to get to know this Adrian man better. The other party dared to talk about bombing the Holy Land. The three of them set foot on the journey. It wasn't until noon that Doflamingo realized how big this place was. Several classical buildings are connected to each other, and there are several independent small buildings around. One morning, they came here for dinner before even finishing a quarter of their shopping. Doflamingo once asked the maid, "Isn't it troublesome because it's so big?" But the maid's answer was that their maids only have a certain range of activities, and the master's main building is the core, and the ones I visited just now are all appendages, or used for welcoming guests. It is indeed true that the interlaced center of the classical building is also the highest place and the other buildings are the home. Doflamingo immediately felt the heritage of this place shortly after visiting, not only the army here, but also the wealth, the decoration, atmosphere, feeling, and even everything here are far beyond the Holy Land. If you let outsiders come, you may think that this is the holy place. They are ready to eat, but when he opened the door and walked in, the man who was supposed to be sitting was nowhere to be seen. "Where's Uncle Adri?" Rosindi asked. The maid who followed them all the time replied, "The master has something to do. He said that the two young masters can only eat Chinese food first. In the afternoon, the master will take you out for a stroll." Upon hearing it, Doflamingo's eyes shone with a strange light. So far, Doflamingo has not figured out his current location. He only remembers that he was in a place in the North Sea. Adri didn't show up until after lunch. "Dover, Rossi, I will take you to an interesting place later. You have never seen it before." Then he straightened his expression and said, "Your father hasn't had time to perform his duties as a father, so let me perform it for him." Adri stepped forward and reached out to hold the hands of the two little guys. Doflamingo resisted at first, but he felt more and more warmth gushing from his heart, so he stopped struggling. Rosindi was happy with Adri holding hands, as happy as Adri comforted himself yesterday. When they go out, instead of the original building, in front of them is a playground, a large playground. Neither Doflamingo nor Rosindi in One Piece world have seen so many facilities. Seeing the surprised expressions of the two people, Adri proudly said, "Well, it took me all morning to do this." But the two children couldn't control their desires anymore, and they almost had stars in their eyes. Adri stopped talking, and dragged the two little guys into the garden. This is their own playground, except for the staff, the tourists are only them. Adri let go and let them find their own way. Rosindi ran around excitedly, while Doflamingo looked around reservedly. Adri took the two little ones on a ride on the carousel, and was photographed by the maid. Immediately afterwards, I went to play the roller coaster again. The two startled little guys didn't slow down even after getting off the car. Adri brought 2 more ice creams for the two little ones, then tousled their blonde hair. Starting at the next stop, Adri simply picked up Rosindi and let him ride on his neck, and threw the two little guys up from time to time. The laughter of the two children spread everywhere. The upturn of Doflamingo's mouth could not conceal his happiness and excitement at the moment. When it was close to night, Adri took the two little guys on the Ferris wheel. When it was at the highest point, the Ferris wheel stopped suddenly. Just when the two little ones were wondering, in the distance, gorgeous fireworks lit up the sky, and the fireworks that were fired continuously formed various shapes. The magnificent scenery also made Doflamingo lose his mind for a while. At this moment Adrian stretched out his hands to the two little ones. "Little Dover, little Rossi, would you like to be my family?" Rosindi couldn't hide his excitement on his face. In this afternoon, Adri accompanied him and played with him like a real father. Doflamingo looked hesitant. On the way back to the room, Rosindi fell asleep in Adri's arms because she was too tired. Adri holds Doflamingo by the hand. "Dover, you hate your father, don't you?" Adri opened his mouth. Doflamingo was taken aback for a moment, then nodded fiercely. "If it weren't for him, our family would live a good life, and my mother wouldn't die." Doflamingo became emotional. "You originally wanted to kill your father and take his head back to Marahoa in exchange for your identity as a celestial dragon, right?" Adri's voice was soft, but these words surprised Doflamingo. Adri fell into a brief silence. He lowered his body, his black eyes gleaming faintly. "Nai, do you want to kill your father yourself?" Doflamingo was puzzled by Adri's question. After all, according to what Adri himself said, his father should be dead, but Doflamingo still nodded. Seeing that Doflamingo nodded, Adri didn't say anything, and led Doflamingo directly through the heavy buildings to a basement door, and then handed him a gun and stuffed it into Dover's arms. "Your father is locked in this basement. Go down and talk to him. Holding a gun is your choice." Doflamingo looked blankly at the gun in his hand. He didn't think about Adri's concealment anymore, but resolutely entered the basement with the gun. "I'll wait for you up there." After Doflamingo went down, Adri leaned against a flower bed and quietly smoked a cigarette. He didn't tell the little guy who went down that his father was not locked up. Boom! The gunshot rang out, and shortly afterwards, Doflamingo came up from the basement. There were tears on his face and a lot of blood splashed on his clothes. It can be seen that Doflamingo chatted with his father for a while before making a move, and after pulling the trigger, he stabilized his emotions here. Doflamingo's right hand has a lot of blood, not his, but his father's head in his hand. "Let's go, I'll take you to see the faces of those nobles in the world, and see your original plan." Adri directly grabbed Doflamingo's clothes and disappeared instantly. "You should be familiar with this place." Doflamingo couldn't adapt to the sudden change of scene, but this is the gate of Mary Joya. Adri pushed Doflamingo lightly. Go, and change your identity back, I'm nearby." Saying that, Adri disappeared here again. Adri came to a high altitude. He was not interested in what happened next, all he wanted was the transformation of this little guy, the real awakening. Soon there was a sound from the sky below him. Adri snuffed out the original cigarette, and disappeared here again. Doflamingo's holding of his father's head did not bring back her original identity, but the other Tianlong people's disgust and pursuit. Just as the captors were about to catch up, Adri mentioned that he was here and returned to the original basement. Doflamingo broke out in a cold sweat, but his emotions grew stronger. Okay, let's ask the maid to give you a bath first. You have also seen what those stupid pigs are like. Don't be nervous. In fact, you should also know that even if you do this, you still won't succeed. They have already regarded you as a traitor. Doflamingo is silent. Actually, no matter what you do in the future, just do it with confidence. You have to know that from now on, there will be me behind you. At this moment, Doflamingo's heart is overwhelmed. It's been a long time since he felt the warmth from his heart. Doflamingo calmed down and looked up at Adri seriously. Adri, I want to blow up the Holy Land. The code word is dog egg. End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Knowledge is Power. Chapter 3 Knowledge is Power. Eldest young master, the master asked you to discuss something, and the second young master is waiting for you. Ha? Call me? While Doflamingo replied, a bundle of silk threads appeared in his hand, tearing the target in half fiercely. Wait for me, I'll be fine soon. In the blink of an eye, Doflamingo has been living here for almost a year, as if he is almost getting used to it, and feels that everything before has been a dream. Not long after he first arrived, Adri took out the string fruit and put it in front of Doflamingo. Devil fruit is a sought-after item in any force, but just like this, it also made Doflamingo change his attitude towards Adri. After all, he never thought that Adri would give him this fruit. But when Adrian gave him the fruit, he still hesitated. Doflamingo still remembers the conversation between the two. Give you. Why don't we find you a natural one later? Do you prefer phantom beasts? Are you sure you want to give it to me? Of course. Don't you need strength? In front of the ready-made fruit, Doflamingo ate it without hesitation, and then spent his days in the training ground. Adri actually wanted to give Doflamingo a stronger fruit, but after considering the plot of the original book, Adri decided to ask Doflamingo for his opinion. The well-trained Doflamingo took the towel handed over by the maid, casually wiped the sweat off his face, and followed the lead made to Adri's exclusive office with ease. I'm here. Doflamingo pushed the door open and entered. Nissan, you're here. Rosindi greeted Doflamingo gently. For his brother's hard work, Rosindi has always seen his brother's efforts. Dover, come and sit down. Adri greeted while sitting at the desk. Doflamingo unceremoniously sat opposite Adri. How's your training going? That's it, I can accurately control the line within 10 meters. It's a big improvement, but I still need to take a break. Understood, Adri. Doflamingo replied and took an apple on the table, and bit it down. Rosindi sat on a chair dangling his feet. He was very satisfied with his current life. His brother was much more cheerful than before, and Adri treated them very well. He even made Rosindi feel the affection and warmth of his family. I was happier in the Holy Land before. Adrian straightened his expression. Okay, now it's time to get down to business. Dover, Rossi, do you want to go out to practice? Doflamingo and Rosindi fell into a brief silence, and Doflamingo understood what he needed. Actually, this matter is completely up to you. You also know that I have some influence here, but in the final analysis, I can't directly confront someone in the open. Since it's not clear, but I secretly give it a little convenience, I also know that you want to use your own strength to achieve your goals, don't you? This is exactly what Doflamingo was thinking about. The time here has almost made him forget his hatred. As for Adri's power, Doflamingo has also known a thing or two in the recent period of time. I'm going. Doflamingo said firmly. Adri nodded, and then took out a classic and simple box from the drawer, with delicate blood-colored patterns tattooed on it, and 4 drop-shaped blood-colored gemstones were placed in the red velvet. Adri took out 2 of them, and the silk threads strung on them were so tiny that you couldn't even see them clearly if you didn't look carefully. Adri got up and put them on for them himself. The faintly discernible thin thread made the ruby seem to be inlaid on his chest. This is a talisman for you. Thank you, Uncle Adri. Thanks. Rosindi picked up the ruby and looked at it, and Doflamingo couldn't help playing with it. So, do you have any plans for what you are going to do? Adri asked casually while putting away the box. Pirate. Doflamingo said in a deep voice. He has his own plan, and this step is the first move. Rocindi's answer to his brother was a little sluggish for a while. From the beginning to the end, it was better to say that it was a dialogue between Doflamingo and Adri. Doflamingo has always had a strong desire for revenge, but Rocindi was just trying to get back to peace. Seeing Rocindi's dumbfounded expression, Adri couldn't help but step forward and pinched Rocindi's face, and said with a smile, "What's the matter, little Rosie?" Adri held the confused Rosinante on his lap and sat down, stroking his golden curly hair, and then turned to look at Doflamingo again. "Dover, it's too early to be a pirate. Do you want to try a gangster first to experience being a gangster, young master?" Doflamingo thought about it seriously and nodded. "Then, Dover, try to learn how to manage subordinates and be a king," Adri said, and pressed the button on the desk. Not long afterward, there was a knock on the door, and the maid led 4 people of different heights into the room. And they were the ones who abducted Doflamingo and induced him to go to the king. They sent people to capture them the day after Adri rescued Doflamingo, and by the way, gave them the sliver fruit in their hands. Dover. Today, after preliminary brainwashing, they already have sincerity, and their strength is still a good helper. Sticky fruit ability user, Torbelschircher fruit ability user, Pika flying fruit ability Diamanti. Virgo who infiltrated the Navy in the future. Dover, they are good helpers. The 4 respectfully greet Doflamingo. "Hello, my lord." In the hearts of these 4 people, they originally planned to recognize Dover as the lord and king, but now there is another mountain behind Dover. "Go down first." "Yes." The 4 retreated. "How is it, Dover?" "Good. I will give you more detailed information at that time." The room fell into silence again. Adri opened his mouth. "Dover, in fact, you can also choose to grow your wings at home before going out." Adri hesitated a little. After spending so long with this little brat, Doflamingo, he still likes him a lot. Now, unlike in the past, Dover can enjoy a better childhood than before, without repeating the same mistakes. Adri regretted his decision today, but he came here and even changed his rational thinking. Doflamingo froze for a moment, then smiled contemptuously and turned his head away. "It's not necessary." Adri didn't force it, but just looked at Rosindi in his arms. "Little Rossi, what about you? Why don't you stay here and be my heir? Or go directly to the Navy and catch your brother when the time comes?" Adri couldn't help rubbing Rocindi's curly hair again. "Hey, why do you want to instigate Rossi?" "I'm not instigating, are you jealous? Little Rossi is the youngest in the family." Doflamingo turned his head away again. "Okay, let's ignore the experience for now, let's put it aside for a while." "Well, that's why you called us here." Doflamingo snorted coldly, and simply sat at the desk and took another bite of the apple. "Dover, have you heard that knowledge is power? I decided not to keep you in a greenhouse. As a man, you must learn to be independent. Speak English. I'm going to take you to school." Although Doflamingo was wearing glasses, it was not difficult to see his surprise at the moment, and even Rosindi raised his head to look at Adri. "Please, you have taught us a lot during this time." Doflamingo grumbled. "Uncle Adri, I want to report, Nissan didn't even do his homework." "Hey! Rosie! How dare you!" As he said that, Doflamingo wanted to jump up and rush towards Rossi. Adri knocked on the table to signal the 2 cubs to be quiet. "This time, I plan to send you to a serious school, 5 years of high school entrance examination, 3 years of simulation, understand?" Rocindi's autobiography of the little theater in this year's relationship. "I like Mr. Adri very much. In order to appear close, I decided to call him Uncle Adri. Uncle Adri is really warm. When he is free, he is willing to play with me and hug me when I am sad. He also likes to rub my hair. He is also willing to tell me bedtime stories. Although Nissan doesn't like it, but I am willing to listen, and he will give us a goodnight kiss after going to bed. He told us that as long as we are willing, this will be our home forever." I regret why I didn't meet Mr. Adri earlier. I miss my father and mother a little bit, but luckily I have my brother and Uncle Adri here. Rocindi's autobiography Little Theater. In this year's relationship, I like Mr. Adri very much. In order to appear close, I decided to call him Uncle Adri. Uncle Adri is really warm. When he is free, he is willing to play with me and hug me when I am sad. He also likes to rub my hair. He is also willing to tell me bedtime stories. Although Nissan doesn't like it, but I am willing to listen, and he will give us a goodnight kiss after going to bed. He told us that as long as we are willing, this will be our home forever. I regret why I didn't meet Mr. Adri earlier. I miss my father and mother a little bit, but luckily I have my brother and Uncle Adri here. End of this chapter. Chapter 4 Getting Ready for School. Chapter 4 Getting Ready for School. Meet you for the first time, Mr. Ardley. This is the principal of the school, Shelby. An old man in a formal suit with a mustache got up and shook hands with Adri. Hello, Principal Shelby. After the initial pleasantries, the two came to an office and sat down together. Adri raised Erlang's legs, placed his hands naturally on the armrests of the chair, and tapped rhythmically with his slender fingers. Then, Mr. Adri, let us talk about the admission of your son. You know, our school is not an ordinary school. There are many nobles from the kingdom studying here, so... The older Principal Shelby crossed his hands against his chin, and the words behind him were self-evident, and he looked at Adri meaningfully. Adrian didn't care. He put the suitcase he was carrying on the table and handed it to Shelby. Shelby looked at the suitcase that was being pushed, with a strange flash in his eyes. Under the gesture of Adrian's eyes, Shelby still opened the box, which was full of berries. Shelby's surprise was fleeting, and she couldn't help swallowing, and quietly waited with both hands. Can't help showing a satisfied smile. Principal Shelby, how about this greeting? Adri smiled and looked at the over 50-old man in front of him, but with a slightly fat body. His suit seemed a bit crowded under his figure. The old man coughed slightly, regained his composure, and explained in a difficult way. Mr. Ardley, you know that too. I will donate another million berry in the name of funding. Shelby's eyes grew brighter, and there was still a red light on his face. Mr. Ardley is so generous and gentle. Your sons must also have good morals. Our school admires such children most. So when can the dog come to school? Tomorrow will be fine. Of course, if Mr. Adrian is busy recently, it will be fine in a few days, as long as it is convenient for you. Okay, I understand. I'm glad our conversation went so well. Goodbye, Principal Shelby. Goodbye, Mr. Adri, and look forward to your son's arrival. Adri walked out of the college, walked through the bustling streets, and came to a residential area to find Villa number 513 Teamuxin, which is Adri's current residence. I'm back, boys. Oh, back? Bastard. Uncle Adri, you are back. The two completely different greetings made Adri couldn't help kicking a certain arrogant fool. Sure enough, Rosindi was the gentle little angel, but he was later shot in the head by his Nissan. Adri hugged Rosindi, who was running towards him, lifted it up and then lowered it, and then gave Doflamingo a flick on the head. Dover little bastard, please watch your language. Doflamingo covered his head that had just been bounced, showing an expression of disbelief. Hey, I've said it before. Don't slap me on the head. Also, I don't want to go to that school. I want to go back to the Holy Land. Seeing the irritable little guy, Adri decided to ignore him for the time being, and started talking on his own. Little Rossi and the little bastard Dover, next time you're outside, it's best to call me father. You are my son outside, and it's fine if you are inside, and you don't have to force it too much. How about? Adri leaned over and touched Rosindi's little head again. Adri was also really a little worried that Rosindi would be disgusted. After all, his real father hadn't been dead for too long. But when Rosindi heard her face blushing, she kept rubbing her two little hands and lowered her head. But, can it be? No, I can. Rosindi's words were a bit intermittent, and Adri thought that the little guy might feel awkward. After all, his own father was gone. Rosie, I can understand if you can't speak out. After all, your father is also a good father. I don't think he's a good father. If it weren't for him, I'd rather call you a jerk father. Doflamingo always becomes extremely emotional when he hears about his biological father. Uncle Adri, I'm fine. During this period of time, you really took care of me like a real father. I didn't force you to call me father at all. Regarding Adri's misunderstanding at the beginning, Rosindi was also a little anxious. What he said just now made his face flush with excitement. He simply buried his face on Adri's body and hugged him tightly. Looking at Rosindi in his arms, Adri showed a gratified expression. This child is so cute. Hey, Adri, I tell you, don't expect me to call you father. Okay, I see. Adri replied extremely perfunctorily, and picked up Rosindi by the way, anyway, as long as little Rosie is willing to call me father. Come on, Rosie, call me. Oda sang. Rosie put her arms around Adri's neck and called softly. Hey! Our little Rosie is so cute, let's go to dinner. Adri hugged Rosindi and left. Doflamingo snorted coldly and followed, and incidentally made a face at Rosindi. Even Doflamingo didn't realize that he had become a little childish. But Adri, who was immersed in the voice of Rosindi's father, felt sweet in his heart. Very good, now he also has a son. Sure enough, this son of Rosindi is the one who warms the old father's heart. Little padded jacket. Unlike Dover, who has a black belly and a poisonous tongue every day. Of course, in order to cultivate the relationship between the two brothers, Adri specially arranged bunk beds in this house. And Dover, I can go to school tomorrow, how do you feel? What can I feel, but just get along with a bunch of garbage for a while. That's it. It seems that you will be very relaxed. Dover, from now on, you can form your own gang after school every day. Huh? Didn't you say you would wait for a while? Doflamingo stuffed a spoonful of mashed potatoes into his mouth and said vaguely. This is different. The other side of the island is not a good place. There are a lot of lawbreakers gathered there, but they are not good people. It's just your first step. The 4 people you met before already on standby, you can do it tomorrow. Adri gracefully cuts off a steak and pops it into his mouth. Doflamingo was a little shaken at this time. His first step of revenge was about to start. He was not sure if he could do it, but when he recalled the past, the anger burned from the bottom of his heart, and he couldn't help but quickly from the beginning. Tonight was destined to be difficult for him to sleep. Doflamingo went back to his room early. He had to think about it. Is Nissan going to be okay? Don't worry, Dover ate the string fruit, and most people can't do anything about her. Besides, the other 4 are not easy to be taken down. At night, Adri came to see the sleeping 2 cubs and covered them with quilts. Adri sat by Dover's bed and stroked Dover's blonde hair, which was not as curly as his brother's. Adri took off the glasses that Doflamingo was still wearing. Doflamingo was not good at all. He still wore them when he went to bed and almost never took them off. Adri talked to himself in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear. Dover, make trouble as you like, with me here, no one can touch you. Then, he left quietly. In the darkness, however, the corners of Doflamingo's mouth were slightly raised. It's nice to have family. Small theater. Doflamingo has been practicing hard on the fruit of the line. One day, he jokingly said to Adri. Aren't you afraid that I'll develop it to the extreme and just divide your head? Adrian just smiled. Doflamingo has always believed, even instinctively, that Adri's strength is not strong, because the appearance is too confusing. Adri's identity has always been a mystery. He never mentioned it. Doflamingo even wondered why the other party adopted him. The identity of the former Tianlongren, more like booting whenever Doflamingo wants to spar with Adri. The maid happens to serve up hot lobster. It's all because the lobster is so delicious. Not greedy. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The villain died in Zhongduo. Chapter 5. The villain died of too much talk. After starting to go to school, Doflamingo went to school in the morning and gangsters in the afternoon. Today was another peaceful day, but Doflamingo, who was usually supposed to be back, was a little late. Doflamingo entered the door quietly, and wanted to rush upstairs, but was bumped into by Rosindi. Nissan, why did you come back now? Alas! Nissan, you are injured. Shut up, I'm fine. Doflamingo was about to go up and cover Rocindi's mouth, but it was still a step too late. Dover, since you're home, come over for dinner first. Adrian's voice came. Doflamingo, who wanted to avoid Adri, could only cover his wound and reluctantly passed. At the dinner table, Doflamingo didn't move too much. It's not that Adrian didn't know, but he hoped that Doflamingo could say it himself. How's today, Dover? That's it. Doflamingo's answer was a little absent-minded. Adri frowned slightly, his thoughts were unclear. Show me the wound, don't cover it. Doflamingo instinctively wanted to continue to cover up, but Adri grabbed him. It was a gunshot wound, and it was just scratched a bit, but there was a lot of blood left, and there were obvious wipe marks on the arm. Adri led Dover straight away from the table. Hey, what are you doing? You should take care of this wound a little bit. Such a small wound is unnecessary. That's not good, let me come in person. A mate is fine, so don't make do with it. At this time, Rosindi also saw the wounds on Doflamingo's body, and echoed Adri. Nissan, you'd better deal with it. Doflamingo was forced by Adri to wipe off the iodine, and occasionally took a breath or two, not to mention, it still hurts, but just let him complain about Adri. Hey, don't be the same as last time. Doflamingo remembered that he was ashamed last time. That time when he fell while walking, Adri asked where he was and went out. On the second day, Doflamingo found that the road that caused him to fall was blown up. Yes, and by the way, everyone around has suffered. I see. Tell me about the injury first. After treating the wound, Adri took out a cigarette while asking, but seeing that Rosindi was also here, he stuffed it back. Humph, it's some bastards under Montreal. Yes. At this time, Rosindi, who was watching from the sidelines, found that Adri's eyes were terrifying and gloomy. He had never seen Adri's face so ugly. Listening to Adri's tone, Doflamingo raised his head again. Hey, I suffered because there were too many people on the opposite side. Next time I bring Toribol and Pika with them, they will be different. Doflamingo seems to be stubbornly trying to prove his toughness. Adri stroked his chin, thought for a while, then picked up Doflamingo and walked out, not forgetting to give instructions before leaving. Rosie, I'll do something with your brother and I'll be back soon. Oh. Rosindi, who stayed where he was, watched helplessly as his brother struggled and was carried out. That's it? Adri put down Doflamingo, and they were at the gate of the Montreal family's base camp at this time. Hey, don't do stupid things, or call a few people. Before Doflamingo could finish speaking, Adri asked a question first. Have you figured out what your family name is? Ha! The Don Quixote family. Doflamingo, momentarily stunned, replied. I saw Adri directly picked up Brother Ming and let him sit on his neck. Ah, hello. What are you doing? Doflamingo blushed and yelled loudly, only to call the police on Adri's head that he's not a kid like Rosindi, he doesn't like it. Let's go, and settle the accounts for you, and watch carefully. Doflamingo hasn't reacted yet. Adri put his feet directly on the gate boom. The door shattered directly, and the Montreal family, which was just holding a party inside, was dumbfounded for a moment. In the middle of the crowd, and also the calmest, was Montreal Tom from the Montreal family. Hey, who are you? The surrounding Montreal family members were also on alert, pointing guns at Adri, and they would shoot as long as Adri made a move. Adri ignored the gangsters who were pointing guns at him, and walked straight to Tom in the center of the crowd. The gangster who wanted to shoot was also stopped by Tom. Seeing that the person who came was a young man, Tom could not help but smile contemptuously. Where do you think this is, and you even brought a doll with you? When one person started, everyone couldn't help laughing. Doflamingo's face was so red that he could bleed, but Adri just patted him to show his weight and spoke. On my neck is the young master of the Don Quixote family. Ha? The Don Quixote family? I haven't heard of it. It can't be a playhouse. Ha 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 ha. More people laughed, even Tom in the first seat laughed disdainfully, and many people put their guns back on their waists. But Adri opened his mouth slowly like a normal person. Your people bullied my boy. Ha ha ha. One of the gangsters laughed wildly, obviously recognizing Doflamingo. This is not the little one in the afternoon. Before the words fell, the gangster's head snapped off instantly, and blood sprayed all over the ground. Everyone in the hall fell silent. There was also danger in Tom's eyes, and he put his hand on the hilt of his sword. Adri continued to ignore everyone, but looked up at Doflamingo and said calmly, "Dover, show me those who bullied you." Doflamingo stared at the crowd, pointing out those who bullied him one by one with his fingers. Whenever Doflamingo pointed his finger at someone, that person's head would be separated directly just like the previous person. At this moment, Doflamingo's fingers killed the lives one by one like a reminder. The fallen corpses are still twitching, their eyes wide open, as if they still don't know what happened to them. Doflamingo felt a surge of blood rushing up, which made him very excited, and every time he pointed at a person, that person fell down. The gangsters in the hall have already fallen into panic. They pointed their guns at Adri, but the bullets they fired would never hit him. Countless crazy bullets hit him, accompanied by people screaming and shouting in horror. Seeing the crumbling people around, Doflamingo showed a smile on his face. This feeling that he can decide the fate of these people at will with one finger. This feeling of mastery makes Doflamingo's blood surge. Some people swung at Adri with knives, but before they got close, they vomited blood and died. Someone was terrified and wanted to run away, desperately wanting to walk outside the door, but before taking a few steps, his body exploded instantly like a bomb, blood sprayed all over the place, and it was brilliant for a moment. Doflamingo finally found his bully. At this moment, the hall was also decorated with blood. Tom, who was originally in the center, didn't move. No, it was just the moment he wanted to make a move, the pressure seemed to hit him like a mountain, making him unable to move, cold sweat dripped from his head, and every pore of his was crying out for help. Finally, after paying back for a long time, Tom timidly said, "Your Excellency, those bastards are dead. I don't know if you can let us go." Adri did not respond, but whispered to Doflamingo, "Sit still." On that moonlit night, the headquarters of the Montreal family ushered in a bloodbath. The afterglow of the moon looks bright and clean. In this originally quiet night, screaming, begging for mercy, crying, and screaming like music attacked the Montreal base camp. Adri was like a black lightning, shuttled through the crowd, and one after another fell. Blood sprayed everywhere, like a cannonball running fireworks, welcoming the distinguished guests, falling down one by one, which is the surrender and admiration for the guests. The hall is now empty, only Montreal Thomas is left. Even now he is afraid in his heart, tears and snot are constantly flowing down, and his hands are trembling uncontrollably. Adri put down Doflamingo and let him step on the bright red carpet. At this moment, Doflamingo saw Adri's face, and he was also smiling, unruly, evil, and arrogant, as if he could use it. He had killed so many people, but his clothes and hands were clean, except for a bloodstain on his face. At this moment, Doflamingo felt that he saw a demon in human skin. Seeing Doflamingo staring at him obsessively, Adri rubbed Doflamingo's hair and said softly, "Scared, stupid? Phew, I don't have any, and that doesn't scare me." Doflamingo laughed too, and he was just as arrogant, defiant, and unrestrained. If someone saw this scene, it would definitely say that they must be father and son. It was also at this time that Doflamingo realized that this was a feeling of intimacy. "Okay, stop smirking, this is the last one, I leave it to you." Doflamingo looked at Tom, who was no longer able to wear pants and had no resistance at all, and wrapped his neck with string fruit. At this time, Tom seemed to be asking for the last bit of consciousness. "Why?" Before he finished speaking, Adri leaned over and whispered in Doflamingo's ear, "Dover, do it." With this sound, he cast a spell on the bewitching demon. Doflamingo pulled the hand that was holding the thread, and Tom's head fell to the ground. A gang leader who ruled a large scale was killed by Doflamingo, who was only 11 years old this year. Dover, you have to remember that the villain dies because of talking too much. Never wait for them to finish their nonsense. At this time, we need to be straightforward. Doflamingo looked at the rolling heads and nodded silently. In an instant, Adri's aura changed suddenly, and the original savage aura gradually disappeared. "Okay, Dover." Adri hugged Doflamingo and sat on his neck again. "Did you have fun today?" Doflamingo, who wanted to resist, nodded obediently, lay on Adri's head, and muttered in a voice that only he could hear, "I'm very happy, father." Just such a pair of father and son walked on the way home warmly under the moonlight. After they left, a group of black crows flitted across the sky, blocking the moonlight for a moment. Countless crows flooded into the lobby of Montreal. The harsh cries of the crows echoed in the hall, and then they disappeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 Dover and Amp, #039, S small sum of money. Chapter 6 Dover's small money since that night. The relationship between Adri and Doflamingo was closer, but it was also this time that Doflamingo realized Adri's strength for the first time. Another year has passed. It's afternoon. Adri is drinking black tea leisurely in the courtyard. Adri, I'm back. Father, I'm back. Rosie and Dover, who were coming home from school, trotted towards Adri. Come on, the desserts are reserved for you. Adri looked at Rosindi, who was still obedient, and Adri felt a burst of relief. This kid is not bad, and the last little guy, Doflamingo, sometimes feels embarrassed to call him father. Doflamingo and Rosindi naturally sat on the chairs beside Adri. Father, why is today's butter bun? Rosindi frowned and asked, he hates bread, he would rather eat prunes. Adri messed up Rosindi's hair and said, It's okay, if you don't like to eat, throw it to your brother. I'll ask the maid to make plum rice balls for you. Doflamingo didn't take it seriously. It wasn't the first time something like this happened. Adri always told him to care about his younger brother. Doflamingo took a sip of the black tea and ate the bun calmly. Hey Adrian, there's something I want to tell you. Oh? What's the matter? I did it there. Really, it's a good thing. Nissan, congratulations on your success. Doflamingo, who wanted to show off, couldn't help but feel a little happy. The gangsters in this kingdom have been unified by him. At the beginning, part of the property in Montreal became Doflamingo's first capital under the management of Adri, although Adri gave the brothers 1,000 million shellfish every week. The pocket money in the house, but Doflamingo also mostly still calls with his gangster business. Buying weapons and buying manpower is a lot of money. Now, Adrian, I don't think we need to go to school. I've got a big project, I'm a little busy, and there's not much to learn in school right now. Doflamingo continued eating the bread and said, This is also the real situation that Adri has discovered so far. The little guy Dover actually intends to devote himself to his career, and because of some unknown factors, the two brothers are geniuses. Sometimes Rosindi is bored and stays in the study. It is precisely because Rosindi is no longer lost with Dover as in the original book, but has become the adopted son of the Warring States period. In the current situation, the relationship between Dover and Rosie is still the same. Not bad. But Doflamingo, his plan is a little bit troublesome. Dover has already stabilized with the gang, and now he is targeting a certain rich man. Adri is now considering whether to greeting to the rich man in advance, or to follow up secretly to see Dover's first experience of robbing a rich man. Sure enough, he is still a little worried about the little guy. There are many people around the rich man. The next day, Doflamingo has already started to prepare things. Adri, who is hiding in the dark, sees Doflamingo in a cloak and sunglasses, with a group of cadres behind him blowing up the street. His aura has a sense of being a gang boss. Adri, who watched, showed his old father a gratified smile. Adrian guarded silently, and solved some mice in the dark. I can pay more attention in the future, try not to make Doflamingo crooked, and cultivate a qualified villain. Afterwards, Adri took Rosindi directly to the address of Doflamingo's target, and in a dark place, the two disguised themselves. Father, what are we going to do? Cultivate your observation skills. By the way, find a good place to pack popcorn and watch how your brother blackmails money. Adri said something a little serious. Rosindi was a little worried. Is Nissan really alright? Won't you get hurt? Don't worry, your brother isn't that weak. Besides, it's unreasonable for a boy to have no scars. He has to grow up. But don't worry, your brother won't die with me here. Although Rosindi didn't quite understand why Adrian's Nissan didn't die, he still nodded. In the afternoon, the Don Quixote family was dispatched. Their main solution this time was a bodyguard of Rich Man Gu, who was said to have been a bounty hunter. Doflamingo decides to let Pika and Diamanti hold the bounty hunter down or kill him. Not long after Pika and Diamanti set off, Doflamingo led Toripol and Virgo directly to the home of the rich man they were aiming at. The luxurious gate of the rich man's house was shattered. Toripol directly killed many people with guns, and made many people inside stop. Virgo also stepped forward with his own weapon to kill several guards. Doflamingo walked straight to the rich man, who was too frightened to move, with extremely cool steps, and naturally sat on a comfortable chair like his master. Toripol, who had already dealt with the people outside, also entered the room, leaned over to Doflamingo's side and reported, "Young master, it has been resolved." "Too close to me," Doflamingo said gloomily. Torbol's snot almost dripped onto his clothes. Virgo, who rushed over, had also kidnapped the rich man's wife and daughter, but it was obvious that the rich man was still pretending to be calm, threatening. "Let me tell you. I hired that bounty hunter who once captured 500 million berries, Mr. Naruto. When he comes, you will." Before he finished speaking, two figures appeared, Pika and Diamanti. Pika greeted Doflamingo with a shrill voice, "Young master, it's done." Pika's sharp voice and his strong figure make people laugh, but what Pika holds in his hand is the head of Naruto, which the rich man relied on before, and it is still stained with fresh blood. The rich man, who had never seen such a scene, directly knelt on the ground with his legs softened, and raised his hands. His wife and daughter were so frightened by the head that they wept. Doflamingo rested his chin on his hands, looking calm, and his dark sunglasses made it difficult to understand his thoughts. "We are the Don Quixote family, hand over everything that is rich in your family." Poltor, who was standing beside Doflamingo, spoke. The Don Quixote family looted almost all the wealth of the rich man's family. Now the rich man Porter's kind gun forced him to open the safe. Now it is either the safe or his head. Directly on his forehead. And Doflamingo, who had been watching from the sidelines, ordered the rest to pack their luggage with the temperament of a big brother, and ran away directly after waiting for the last payment. Secretly, Adri and Rosindi, who had witnessed the whole process, were still watching this harmonious scene. "Is Nissan okay? Rosie, you should know what your brother thinks." Rosindi was silent for a while or acquiesced. "Rosie, in the future, if your Nissan becomes a big pirate who commits all kinds of crimes, what will you do to prevent him from falling further? You have to know that there is no pure white and black in the world. Even the Navy is sometimes not beautiful in secret. Do you know what I mean? Well, Odu-sang, I understand the truth, but you should know the hardships you have suffered before. I believe you will figure out some things later. Besides, do you still remember the Navy Garp who smashed the green peppers in the newspaper not long ago? His son is recently the leader of the budding revolutionary army that is against the world government." Rosindi was visibly taken aback by this fact. Adri looked at his open mouth, and just continued to add, "It's also possible that 3 generations of grandparents and grandchildren have different allegiances like this." Adri's tone was like a joke, which attracted Rosindi's question, "How is it possible? Is it possible there will be 3 generations of grandparents and grandchildren who are the Navy, pirates, and Revolutionary Army? If there is, how wonderful is this family?" "Yeah, I think so too." "So, you don't have to be too against your brother at all." "Well, it's almost time for us to go back." Adri immediately picked up Rosindi and rushed home, and he had to rush home before Doflamingo cleaned up the money himself. Sure enough, not long after returning home, Doflamingo's laughter came. Fur. Immediately afterwards, Doflamingo stepped into the house arrogantly, and walked towards Adri at a pace that the 6 relatives did not recognize. "Look at you, it's going well." Adri sneered. "Of course, do you know how much money we made?" Doflamingo was full of pride, sitting on the sofa, with his legs spread apart, his arms leaning on the sofa, and a smile that didn't want to be punched. Rosindi responded and asked Anisan, "How many are there?" Fufufu, there are as many as million." Doflamingo raised a finger and kept pointing. Looking at the proud Doflamingo, Adri felt warm. This brat still knows something good to share with his family. Adri coughed slightly, pretending to praise Doflamingo deeply. "Not bad, Dover, but such a small amount of money can make you lose your temper? Didn't I tell you to control your expression at any time, and don't let others guess your mind? When Doflamingo heard this, he snorted coldly at tch, I can't show off at home. Yes, Dover, so I have arranged for a maid to prepare your favorite lobster for you. Adri simply picked up Doflamingo and walked to the restaurant. Humph, for the sake of the lobster, I don't care about it? Little Rossi, follow up. Well, here we come. Doflamingo Birthday Theater. April 10th. When Adri came to find Rosindi a few days ago to discuss Doflamingo's birthday together, Rosindi was a little surprised. He had been fleeing with his biological father since before, and the two brothers had long forgotten the past. This is birthday. Now, Adri can offer to celebrate Doflamingo's birthday, and Rosindi is also very willing to cooperate. He also wants to give Nissan a birthday, so they are ready today. Doflamingo was still kept in the dark. He had never dreamed about his wandering life, nor had he ever imagined that his life would be as warm as it is now. When Doflamingo came to the restaurant, it was pitch black, which immediately made Doflamingo feel wrong. Suddenly, candlelight flashed in the dark, and the number 11 was particularly obvious under the candlelight. A burst of singing came. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. The sudden appearance of Rosinindi and Adri on both sides of Doflamingo brought Doflamingo directly to the cake with the number 11 inserted, and brought him a birthday hat by the way. At this time, Doflamingo also discovered that these two were not the only ones who sang birthday songs to him, and many maids were also on the sidelines. Under the dim candlelight, Doflamingo was a little dazed for a while. At the end of the singing, Adri reminded him make a wish, Dover. Doflamingo looked reluctant, and after silently making a wish, Adri hugged him and blew out the candle. After the candles were blown out, the lights of the hall instantly illuminated every corner, and the hall was surrounded by various balloons and colorful satin decorations. In the center of the hall, there was a happy birthday Doflamingo. Made of balloons. A few words. Several maids stood on both sides and turned the colored cannons, dozens of maids around, as well as the guards guarding the door, and the servants standing on the corridor on the second floor. At this moment, hundreds of people bowed in the direction of Doflamingo and blessed him. Happy 11th birthday to eldest young master. The loud voice resounded throughout the hall and was still reverberating. Rosindi happily tugged at the corner of Doflamingo's clothes and congratulated him. Nissan, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Dover. After turning on the lights, Master Doflamingo found that there were many gifts, large and small, displayed on the table behind the cake. Doflamingo was a little surprised and joyful in his heart. He was ready to have a random birthday as a commemoration of his 1 year older, but now the corners of his mouth could not help but slightly raised, complaining. Who wants you to celebrate my birthday? But, thanks. Thank you. When he wore glasses in time, it was hard to hide his happiness. Rosindi took out a small box from behind and handed it to Doflamingo. When he opened the box, there was a beautiful shell inside, and the words I wish Nissan happy forever. Nissan, I picked this shell carefully at the seaside. Well, thank you. Doflamingo held the shell in his hand, smiled lightly, carefully put the shell into a small box, and followed Adri's example in stroking Rosindi's hair. Oh, Nissan, why are you like Uncle Adri, so my hair will be messy? Doflamingo ignored Rosinante's protest and turned to look at the crooked two-tiered cake under the candle. This cake. Rosindi immediately rushed to say, I made it myself with Uncle Adri. There was a little pride in Rosindi's tone. After all, he and Adri barely managed to make a cake that looked like a cake after several days of learning. Doflamingo didn't pay much attention when he was blowing out the candles at first, but now that he saw it, he couldn't help but fell into a daze, and looked suspiciously at Adri, who was dodging aside. Don't blame him, Adri really has nothing to do with making cakes in Doflamingo's heart. Adri looked at the cake he made, blushing on his face, and changed the subject with a light cough. Let's have cake first. Although this cake is a bit chilly, but it can also be seen that the cake is decorated with pink, and the shape of an animal is barely made with pink cream. Doflamingo looked at the cream animal, and then looked at it a bit an awkward couple. It's a flamingo. Adri explained to Doflamingo with his chin resting on one hand, and then called the maid to help share the cake. "Master, this is the first piece." The maid handed Doflamingo a piece of cake, then Rosindi, Adri. Doflamingo took a tentative sip under Rosindi's expectant eyes, and this was the second sip, which was completely different from the unpalatable one he had originally imagined. Although it was poorly made, the materials used to make the cake were not cheap, but it tasted extraordinarily sweet and delicious. "How about it, Nissan?" Rosindi asked anxiously at the side. "Delicious." "Oh yeah." When Rosindi was happy, he went up and hugged Doflamingo and gave Adri a high five. The servants brought chairs for the few people to enjoy slowly. Adri tasted the cake in his hand, while reminding Doflamingo the presents on the table are unwrapped while eating. It was only then that Doflamingo realized the pile of presents on the table. Who sent these? Some people who want to make a good relationship gave it. Hey, I deliberately let the news that the young master of our Chamber of Commerce is celebrating his birthday. Although they are all rubbish, there might be something you like. So much. Adri glanced at Doflamingo strangely. Actually, there are still some piled up in the corner. Adri didn't say any more, but launched an exquisite long small box. "This is my gift to you, take a look." Doflamingo opened the box, and inside was a pair of sunglasses with a blood-red mirror and a pure white frame with a beautiful curvature. His name was outlined in English handwriting with a gold pen on the inside of the temple. Don Quixote Doflamingo. "How is it, do you like it?" Doflamingo silently took off the glasses he was wearing, and simply put on this pair of sunglasses. "Phew, I like it." This pair of sunglasses made Doflamingo even feel that they were designed for him, which feels very good. In the room, Doflamingo, who couldn't unpack because of too many presents, called Rosindi. The gifts inside are very miscellaneous, including swords, diamonds, out-of-print books, decorations, and antiques. Doflamingo kept some that he could use, and wanted to give the rest to Rosindi. But Rosindi refused, on the grounds that Adri said that next time he celebrates his birthday, there will be more presents. Doflamingo is sour. Ah ha ha ha. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 Confession. Chapter 7 Confession. See Garden Calendar 1494. Adri took Doflamingo and Rosindi away from the Gold Kingdom where they had stayed for 2 years. Doflamingo felt that this fast place could no longer quickly develop and utilize resources, so he left some manpower, and with the help of Adrian, he used the black area here as a stable source of business. Sitting on a sailing ship with the logo of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Doflamingo sat on the bow enjoying the sea breeze and looking at the endless sea. Rosinetti drank a glass of orange juice and handed another glass of orange juice to Doflamingo. However, Doflamingo refused, and Rosindi could only pass the orange juice to the attendant behind him, and then asked Doflamingo to make room for it together, and the two brothers sat together on the bow from time to time. Rosindi also took dried fruit from the tray of the entourage behind him. Doflamingo was sitting cross-legged, holding his chin and looking at this little dangling Odudu, this stupid Odudu, always like this, out of shape, just sitting like this a few days ago, accidentally fell off. He went to the sea, and sure enough, he will still have to rely on him as the eldest man in the future. "Young master, Toribol would like to ask your lord, when will the family meeting be held?" A little black-haired boy came, wearing black sunglasses, and somehow even had a piece of steak stuck to his face. "Virgo, the steak is on your face again." "Oh, I see, young master." "Go and call them first, and go in the conference room now." "Yes." With that said, Virgo withdrew. Doflamingo glanced at Rosindi beside him. "Rosie, are you going?" Rosindi's bangs kept covering his eyes. He raised his head, still chewing on the dried fruit, then shook his head. Doflamingo didn't say any more, he just got up and said, "Don't fall again." "Understood." Doflamingo was a little worried again. He told his servants to watch over him, and then walked towards the meeting hall. Adri, who was staying in his private office to handle official business, looked at the invitation in his hand and thought about it. Adri picked up another document, which was also an invitation. He couldn't help but rubbed his forehead, glanced at the pile of papers on his desk, and sighed helplessly. On the other hand, Doflamingo, who is the eldest son, is not easy, and then she will hold her family meeting. The main four-person cadres have been following him all the time, and now they mainly plan for the next location, do a good job in the next plan and the management of the original site, the latest income, and the current total payment. Only Rosindi walked on the deck with ease. He was a little bored and came to Adri's office. "May I come inside?" "Of course, you can come in any time." Rosindi stepped into the room and saw Adri writing something with a signature pen, occasionally using the seal a few times, and finally raised his head when he saw Rosindi enter. "What's the matter, Rosie?" Rosindi obediently sat on the chair beside Adri. "I was wondering if there was anything I could do to help you." Adri smiled, pinched Rosindi's cheek, and replied, "I'm fine if you're happy." There was a strange light in Rosindi's eyes. He was hesitating, as if holding back something. Adri saw that something was wrong, got up and locked the door of the room, then squatted down next to Rosindi, and asked with concern, "What's the matter? You can ask me if you have anything." Rosindi didn't speak, but lowered his head even more, and kept rubbing the bloody pendant that Adrian gave him. Adri watched silently, feeling something, and hugged Rosinante without saying a word. Adri only felt Rosinante's tears dripping onto his clothes, and he began to sob slowly. Adri patiently patted Rosinante on the back without saying a word. Long time passed. Rosindi finally stopped crying, but she was still sniffing and rubbing her eyes. Adri took out a square towel and wiped away the remaining tears in the corners of Rosindi's eyes and the tear stains on his face. "Aren't you going to ask me why?" "I asked you, would you answer me, little Rossi?" Adrian spoke calmly. Rosindi slowed down his breath, tried to calm himself down, and murmured in a low voice, "My father, is he dead?" The voice is very low, but it is very clear in the quiet office. "Rosie, didn't I tell you about this a long time ago?" "You knew already?" "Ah. Who told you that?" "Unintentionally, although you deliberately didn't let me know." Adri sighed, and asked, "How long have you known?" "Then do you hate me?" Rosindi shook his head quickly, for fear that Adri might misunderstand. "Then, do you hate him?" Rosindi hesitated, but still nodded. "He is your own brother. His intention is to hope that you can live a better life again." "I know." Rosindi's voice was a little hoarse. Adrian thought for a while. "You can talk to him directly when you have time. You need to communicate. Also, even if there is any deep hatred, you should be honest now. When you are adults, you can run around. At that time, if there is anything, don't worry about me. It's just life and death. Anyway, if it gets to that point between you, there's nothing you can do. In my opinion, life and death are nothing." Rosindi thought that Adri was just reassuring, and nodded obediently. "It's just that if one of you loses, you have to come back to me and inherit the family business." Adri jokingly said again that he knew that neither of these two little guys would come to his chamber of commerce. After comforting Rosindi, Adri went to find Doflamingo alone and had a conversation. Adri only hopes that the brothers will stop killing each other before they become adults, and that they will go to sea separately in the future, and life and death will follow the sky. He knew there would be such a day, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. The original plot was that Doflamingo killed their father face to face, causing Rockindi to leave directly. Now, Rockindi didn't leave directly, it was Adriatic, the results of years of homework. That night, the lights in Rosindi and Doflamingo's room were on until midnight. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 3 Invitations. Chapter 8. An Invitation. Are you ready, boys? Adrian knocked on the door. Doflamingo and Rosindi came out together, and today they dressed up specially. Because today Adri was invited to take the two of them to discuss a business. Although the other party is not very important, he is also a good hand in business, and has been in the dark world all year round. The reason why Adri is willing to take the two brothers is not only because of the other party's invitation, but also because of letting the two little guys learn a lot. Today, Doflamingo and Rosinante changed into black suits, and they both wore top hats. Doflamingo's shirt is wine red and Rosinante's is dark purple. Adrian changed his normal style today, wearing a dress, a bow tie, a black feather coat on his shoulders, a blue diamond brooch pinned to his chest, and black gloves, but if you look closely, you can find the gloves. The logo of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is embroidered on the edge. Adriatic also unexpectedly had an exquisite cane in his hand. The grip was made of gold, surrounded by 12 diamonds, and the entire gold handle was engraved with snake-shaped patterns. Seeing Adri's dress, Doflamingo couldn't help but tease. "Are you an underworld or a gang?" Adri did not joke with Doflamingo as usual, but said seriously, "This is an external image. You don't need to say much when the time comes, just watch carefully. After all, the entire Chamber of Commerce is behind me, and no one can underestimate it." Speaking of which, 3 strange men wearing round caps appeared beside Adri. Their brims were so low that their faces could not even be seen clearly. They stood in unison, but they gave off a sense of confusion. "The 3 of them will go with us when the time comes. They are my confidants and are worthy of trust." After Adri made a brief introduction, he led the 2 precocious little ghosts onto a small boat, and they were going to an agreed place to do business. On the boat, Rosindi was obviously a little cautious, and kept wearing his veil. "Well, father, we won't embarrass you, will we?" "Don't worry, Rossi, you have to know, now you are the second young master of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Calm down, you can represent my face, learn from your brother." Adri silently looked at Doflamingo, who was sitting arrogantly. Doflamingo was not surprised by such scenes, but this time his identity is slightly different, not the young master of the Don Quixote family, but the young master of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Soon, they arrived at the destination. It was a large ship, parked on a piece of sea area, and Adri boarded the ship with everyone. Under the guidance of specialized personnel, they were led to the door of a room. Along the way, Dover and Rossi were on both sides of Adri, a little half a step behind Adri. Doflamingo also looked at Adri with a puzzled expression under observation along the way, with a hint of tension and depth. But Adri didn't pay attention, and strode into the room with big strides. The black feather coat left traces in the air. Adri sat down on a sofa unceremoniously, leaned on the back of the sofa, crossed his legs. "Cross your hands over your chest." Doflamingo and Rosindi also followed closely, and sat on both sides of Adri respectively, which was not stage fright. And the 3 wearing round caps stood silently aside. The person sitting opposite them was a man with a curly black beard. The man's thin face also looked extremely fierce, with a big hat in the shape of a ship's anchor on his head. He seemed a bit surprised by Adri's arrival, especially Adri brought 2 children, and he himself did not expect the other party to bring them. It seems that these 2 are the 2 young masters of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. They are really talented. It's just to bring them a lot of knowledge. Don't you already have a career? The 2 people's business boasted to each other, which seemed so peaceful, but Doflamingo felt more and more wrong, and he became anxious. "So, Mr. President, what about our previous proposal?" "Then this matter of course depends on the sincerity of both parties, doesn't it?" Mr. Umit. "Ah, of course. So, have you brought your things?" The man with the hat with the anchor symbol is Umit. Most of his industry is mainly in Asia-Europe shipping, but this party has collided with the interests of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, and Umit has recently been a little bit concerned about the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce's route in the North Sea. "Mean." Umit greeted a secretary behind him and handed him a suitcase. Adri also clapped his hands, motioning for the people behind him to hand over the documents. "Mr. President, Umit, don't mind a priori." Both sides hand over their own things at the same time. Umit sent a middle-aged man wearing glasses to carefully examine the contents of the document, and then nodded affirmatively at Umit. And one of the people brought by Adriatic also opened the suitcase, cleared the banknotes inside, and after confirming the number and authenticity, he also nodded to Adriatic, and then withdrew. "Mr. Umit, you are really a man who keeps his word." Where, then, happy cooperation. At the moment Umit exited, he took out his pistol and pointed the muzzle of the black hole at Adri. At this time, the breath was tense, and Adri and the 3 people behind Umit drew their weapons at the same time. When they agreed to meet at the beginning, it was agreed that each side would only bring 3 followers. In the face of Umit's gun threat, Adri did not show nervousness, but calmly questioned the other party. "Mr. Umit, what do you mean?" "Ha? What do you mean?" I didn't expect you to be so stupid as to bring your own son here. How could I accept this contract? Little ones, come out. Umit laughed wildly. More people appeared beside him, and many opponents broke into from outside the room. Rosindi pinched the corner of Adri's clothes and asked quietly. Do-sang, what should I do? Adri didn't answer him directly, but just made a silent gesture with his hand in front of his lips. Compared with other people, Doflamingo is much calmer. Although he saw something wrong from the beginning, he is not worried after understanding Adri's strength. Even he can escape, but there is another Rosindi, on the other side, came prepared. Is this your answer, Mr. Umit? Ha ha ha, at this juncture, you still want to pretend to be calm. You and these two little devils are dead today, and I will eventually snatch the route of your galaxy chamber of commerce. I am the man who will become the king of the sea. Umit laughed arrogantly, and the enemies around him were also ready to attack. Adri held down Doflamingo, who was about to make a move, then continued to look calmly at Umit on the opposite side, and then sighed euphemistically, clean up. Ha ha ha, are you giving up resistance, little ones? Give it to me? In an instant, Umit's body was split in two, and it was the one behind Adri who did it. Before Rosindi could react from the shock, Adri's serious educator said, observe carefully, don't make the same mistake in the future. Then he added, try to hold back. When Rosindi couldn't really understand the meaning. The other two behind Adri also moved, they are number 2 and number 3. Number 2 directly used his body to slam into the surrounding people, crushing them like a steamroller. No. Was relatively civilized, he moved his hands one after another, aiming at his head every time. The bloody scene that exploded immediately made Rosindi feel extremely uncomfortable in his stomach. Under a burst of churning, the acid in his stomach burst out of his throat, and took out a bag to catch the vomiting thing. Number 1, who took the lead in cutting Umit in half, also thoughtfully handed over a glass of water. The screams ended very quickly, and the entire ship, except for the people brought by Adri, became dead souls. Walking on the carpet paved with blood, Adri was still calmly drinking red wine to pass the time. When it was confirmed that the ship had no more survivors, no, came to Adri to report. My lord, to confirm. Number 1 bowed deeply. Then clean up the things on Umit's side, and find someone to settle down by the way, and prepare for the absorption later. Yes. The 3 took orders, and no. Set off first, while no. Remained by Adri's side. Doflamingo on the side said that he had seen Adri through. Although the other side was very dishonest, Adri was not very good-hearted. He probably had already thought about his current state and brought the 2 brothers here. Study. How are you? Are you still getting used to it? Cut, that's it. I'm doing it this time because the future conflict between us is inevitable. It's not the point where I have to die. Next time, I'll take you to a gathering of real businessmen. Humph. Adri winked at no, and no. Disappeared from sight. Adri led a Dover in his left hand and a Rosie in his right, and returned to his boat. After waiting for a while, no. Came back and drove the boat not far away. There was an explosion sound at the place. Don't worry about it, just remove some traces. Adri explained to the children with a smile, and then, this smile had a special meaning in Doflamingo's eyes. Restraining the urge of 2 curious babies to turn their heads, Adri admonishes. Real men never look back at explosions. Then Adri stood at the bow of the ship, but the flames that exploded behind him seemed to be his artwork, competing to shine. But this time, Doflamingo really remembered a figure. The back of the black feather coat illuminated by the firelight, who was arrogantly and fearlessly walking towards the unknown. Adrian was never a nice guy, but in raising them, not bad. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 1 Ordinary Tea Chapter Meeting. Chapter 9 An Ordinary Tea Party, Recommendation Ticket plus Update. Adri and others arrived on the special ship of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, but Adri had not yet smoked a cigarette, and the number 1 on the side came to Adri. Sir, please. Are things ready? Everything is ready, and the ship to pick you up has arrived. Adrian nodded silently. Rosindi on the side was a little puzzled. Father, are you still going out? Well, a personal invitation. Adri patted Rosindi's head, and thought of adding, it will take some time to come back this time. No. And no. Who followed me before that time will be responsible for your safety. On the ST, he jumped on the newly prepared ship with Adri. Before leaving, Adri still worriedly said, Dover, take care of your brother. Adri left under Rosindi's waving goodbye and Doflamingo's cold snort. Sitting in the boat, Adri took out an invitation card from his arms. The invitation card was pink and had a sweet smell. Adri frowned slightly looking at the time above, and thought to himself, it's too late. A few days later, in a remote place on a certain island in the New World, Adri quietly boarded a ship with No. In the night, and No. Followed silently with something in his hand. After turning the boat again, Adri boarded a strange boat. For nothing else, there was a face-like thing on the bow, which was still singing. The decoration of the hull was made of food, and the overall color was bright. The feeling of sweetness arises spontaneously. A chess soldier stepped forward to greet, please show your invitation. Adri remained silent and just showed the invitation card. The soldier confirmed it, and then led Adri and the two of them to a younger man in a pink suit with slender legs. The more noteworthy, is wearing an eggshell under his body. Your Excellency Baron Eggy, the guests are here. Oh, it's the first time we meet. The Baron is laying eggs. Baron Eggs took off his hat. Adri nodded in response. Looking at the indifferent Adri in front of him, Baron Eggy didn't show any displeasure, but said respectfully, the ship will soon enter the waters of Toddland, and it is expected to land on Wandao at noon. Well, first ask someone to take us to the room to rest. Adri didn't care too much, as long as he had time, he followed the chess soldiers and went to rest. Baron Eggy, who stayed where he was, looked at Adri's back and fell into deep thought. The guest this time is different from the past. The reason why this job fell on him is said to be because the guest asked to keep a low profile. He even heard that Lord Katakuri originally planned to come. But there have been no large-scale tea parties recently, only a tea party for Big Mom after giving birth to 48, 49, and 50 children, but most of them are only tea parties attended by the Charlotte family. Baron Eggy no longer thinks about it anymore, he is just a young man in the Big Mom Pirates now, he just needs to do his job well. The other side. North Sea number 3, why don't you say that father hasn't come back yet? My lord is going far away, so please wait patiently for the second young master. Number 3, who was kneeling on the ground, replied. Luo Shindi turned his head to look at No. Who was kneeling, his eyes were full of helplessness, even if he wanted to ask No. To chat with him, it would be boring, No. Really pays too much attention to etiquette. Rosindi has also distinguished the appearance of No. This time. Although he was with No. And No. Before, the figure of No. Looks capable. No. Has no expression on his face, just like a person without emotion. A robot that answers whatever it asks. Rosindi sat on a chair, dangling his legs, and took a book from the shelf to relieve his boredom. 10,000 Islands Adri, who got off the boat, accepted the welcome and came to pick up his aunt's second son, Charlotte Katakuri, who was only 20 years old now. Seeing Adri getting off the boat, he naturally stepped forward to say hello, but Katakuri's address surprised the other people on the side. Uncle Adri, you are here. Katakuri, you've grown so tall, long time no see. Adri stepped forward and chatted with Katakuri very acquaintedly, and soon came to the tea party venue. Although Katakuri is only 2 meters tall now, he looks bigger than Adri. Mom, Uncle Adri is here. Well, Adri, you are free to come. I heard that Ni gave birth to 2 more sons not long ago. Sitting in the main seat, the huge Big Mom joked while eating dessert. Lingling, as you know, business is very troublesome, so I only adopted 2. After all, you have reached 50 children this time. Adri, you really don't think about the previous proposal, so that you can have blood relatives. The aunt had a bewitching look on her face. No, Lingling, you know me well. Oh, by the way, I brought you a nice present this time. Adrian changed the subject and waved his hand to make No, who was following behind him, open the box in his hand. What appeared inside was a devil fruit. Oh. You are so willing, Adrian. I originally planned to keep it for your children. After all, who asked them to call me uncle? And our new dessert, try it. No. Handed the box containing the devil fruit to Xiao, the members of the Lot family opened another large box. Before they could even see the shape, the aroma hit their noses. Adri sat down on the seat next to Big Mom and asked No to pass the food in the box to Aunt. The dessert in the box is a cake, which is specially made by the staff of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, as a gift for the aunt, and this kind of cake is currently the only one, and the box containing the dessert has also undergone special treatment to extend the shelf life and make the cake as fresh as possible baked in general. The aunt picked up a cake that was not too small. Although the cake was quite big compared to normal people, it was only a slap to the aunt. Big Mom stuffed the cake in her hand into her mouth, and the cake melted in her mouth like ice cream. The sweet taste instantly filled the whole mouth, and the aunt licked her tongue in satisfaction. How is it, Lingling? Very nice, isn't it? Well, the taste is very much to my liking. Adri, your desserts are always so to my liking. Thank you, I'll ask someone to bring you a boat first, but don't eat too much at once, you just gave birth recently. I see, Adri, you came to see my children again, this time I gave birth to triplets. Okay, Lingling, let the children start the tea party, I miss your black tea a little too. Then let's get started. An attendant on the side pushed the newly born triplets into the arena. Oh. Uncle Adri, you are here. There was a voice of a big tongue, and the person who came was the eldest son of the aunt, Charlotte Paraspero. Paraspero came with a candy cane and greeted Adri enthusiastically. As the eldest son of the family, Paraspero, as the elder brother of many younger brothers and sisters, is under great pressure. He usually does not appear so unstable, but he is an exception in front of Adri. Adri looked at the young man who had grown up in front of him, and he was also full of emotion. Puberty in Pirate World grows really fast. One after another, people appeared on the stage one after another, but they all called Uncle Adrian more politely. Only a few little guys who are too young to recognize Adri are a little shy. Although looking at these little guys is very shy, but they are also the children of the aunt. Usually, brothers and sisters move knives and play games without blinking. At this time, Adri saw a certain little girl and couldn't help getting up and approaching her. Boulay, long time no see. The little weeping bag has grown into a big girl. Charlotte Brie, a mirror fruit ability user, is now 15 years old, and her height has not reached the stage of rapid growth. Adri also rubs Brie's purple hair. Ah, Uncle Adri, stop rubbing my hair. You also said that she is a pretty little girl now. Brie pretended to complain. Brie's nose is red and protrudes a little, like a witch in a fairy tale, but there is no scar on her face. Adrian stopped teasing the little guy, but took out a gift box and handed it to Brie. Congratulations, you have become a beautiful little girl. Brie blushed and accepted. Katakuri and Paraspero looked fine. If others dared to treat their sister like this, they would have beaten them up long ago, but Adri can be regarded as their uncle, and they knew very well in their hearts that Adri Derry is already in his 40s, about the same age as Big Mom. And Adri also likes children from the bottom of his heart, especially those children he watched grow up. The following tea party went smoothly, and Adri shuttled among the aunt's children. Hey, Smoothie, you've grown taller again. This is a gift from Uncle Adri. This sword is very suitable for you. Oh, Cracker, don't tell me you're afraid of pain at your age. Mondor, come, this book is for you. Your boy's name is Barbaloa, right? This glove is for you. Oh. So cute, Lingling and the mermaid's child. Those who were left out, because the older Paraspero, Katakuri, Daifuku, and Irving said they were not angry, but they were still very happy to see Adri mingle with the children. They met Adri when they were 7 or 8 years old, and their companionship in the next few years made them truly recognize Adri. Sometimes they hope that Adri is their real relative, which is much better than the love brought by Aunt. It's not that they haven't tried to make Adri their father, Now they are a little jealous of the two children Adri previously adopted. Charlotte Lingling looked at the harmonious scene in front of her and didn't feel angry. Being able to invite Adri to participate in this kind of family-oriented tea party is a proof. Big Mom looked at the crowd with a smile, stuffed sweets in her mouth, turned her head and tenderly looking at the photos on the table. I sighed in my heart. If the nun saw this scene, she must be very happy too. Adri really looks like a nun in some ways. If Adri can be his husbander. Or make his son my son-in-law in the North Sea. Doflamingo, who was looking at the moon alone, sneezed, wondering in his heart, did he catch a cold? Thinking about it, Doflamingo took the coat from number 2. Thank you guys for the votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 will come out to me. Chapter 10 will come out to me, recommendation ticket plus update. In the dead of night, Wan Dao has also entered a state of defense. The current Wan Dao is still very fragile and not perfect. Adri, who stayed overnight in Wan Dao, came to the aunt's room at this time. Oh, Adri, have you figured it out? If it's you, I can throw away my current husband without any problem. As Big Mom said, although it just gave birth to a baby not long ago, the new husband has already been chosen, and even the next husband has been chosen. Her next husband is a tall man with pink hair. It can make her give birth to children similar to giants. Adri sat casually on a chair and waved his hands. No, Lingling, I'm here to discuss business. Well then, I also think our relationship should be one step closer. The aunt replied with a smile, and Mihos beside her also approached, and Zeus and Prometheus on the side also put their shoulders on the aunt's shoulders. Mihosi, the most beloved of their two aunts, is also a powerful fighter. Adrian lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and exhaled smoke rings, looking very relaxed. Lingling, my business has already started in the new world. Well, that's not right. So now you need. That's right, but it still shouldn't be too obvious, and it should be darker. Hey, I said Adrian, with our union, why should we? Some black business between Adri and Aunt is usually in the dark, just like Adri never participated in the grand tea parties of Aunt on the bright side. Some fig leaf is necessary, for the good of us, isn't it, Lingling? Well, Adri, you are still the same. You have seen some of my children, have you ever thought about finding a daughter-in-law for you? Big Mom was probing, and when she suddenly found out that Adri had 2 children, she thought that Adri was hiding it, but it was not difficult for Adri to find out that it was indeed not Adri's biological son, but an adopted son. The role of foster children can be many, not to mention, Adri deliberately adopted 2. Lingling, you also know that I need an heir. And the ambition of those 2 boys really doesn't seem to be in business. What Adri said didn't directly answer Big Mom, but it also meant that it wasn't right now. Forget it, I'm going first, I still have to prepare to save more children. My dream of all nations is far from being realized. Big Mom went to her bedroom. Adri is also ready to go back to the room to rest. As soon as he went out, Adri threw the cigarette in his mouth on the ground and stomped it out. Come out. Don't hide it, do you think I don't know? Adrian rubbed his forehead helplessly. And the mirror directly opposite him began to fluctuate, and a figure gradually appeared. It was Bree. Bree stretched out her upper body, acting cute in embarrassment. Uncle Adri, I didn't mean to disturb you and Mom. Then he immediately got to the point, with a gossiping look on his face. How, have you become my father? Adri stepped forward, sighed, and pinched Bree's cheek. Little silly girl, don't think about what you have. Go to sleep, go to bed early now, it's good for your skin. Bree's skin may have been congenital, causing it to appear dull and wrinkled. Uncle Adri. Hey, go back quickly, and go to sleep if you don't want to become a little witch in the future. Seeing that acting like a baby is useless, Boulay can only retreat to the mirror, her face still full of anger. Don't get out of the mirror again at night. Adri added that the little budger is cute, but he is very persistent in making Adri a father. Adri walked in the corridor, and couldn't help but sigh again. Come out. You sure? At the corner, a tall figure appeared, seemingly unintentionally, touching his head, and greeted Adri abruptly. Uncle Adri, what a coincidence. Adri quietly looked at the poor acting skills of the person in front of him, and asked back. Katakuri, you child. It was Katakuri who was in front of him. Katakuri, who was suddenly pulled out, was a little at a loss, his eyes kept dodging, and he glanced around. Adri looked at Katakuri, his face sank again. Anything else? Ha? Uncle Adri, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand? Katakuri kept scratching the back of his head, faltering and whistling guiltily. Sure enough, he is still too young, Adri secretly thought. Oh, come out quickly, don't force me. Adri warned again. Katakuri still wanted to quibble, and another figure staggered to appear. Oh! What a coincidence! Uncle Adri! Katakuri, you are all here. Ha ha ha! It was Perispero who came out, holding the candy cane tightly with both hands and giving Katakuri a look from time to time. Katakuri was also winking, as if to say, why did you come out? Perispero still wanted to hold on, smiling embarrassingly. I just came out to go to the bathroom. Ha ha ha. Adri remained silent again, silently watching the two brothers who were still pushing each other. Adri held his forehead and his tone was calm. Anything else? What, what are you talking about, Uncle Adriatic? Ha ha. Seeing Adri's serious expression, Perispero didn't dare to laugh anymore, and took a bite of the lollipop to suppress his shock. Don't let me drag you out myself. Soon, two figures with arms crossed appeared at the corner and walked out heroically. Oh, why are you here? Our two brothers, come out, come out, come out, come out, go shopping. Well, the moonlight is so beautiful. Coming out again are Katakuri's two younger brothers, Charlotte Irwin. Charlotte Daifuku. Both Perispero and Katakuri turned their heads away from their superb acting skills and stiff faces, unable to bear to look directly at them. Adri pointed to the ceiling. How do you see the moon? Daifuku and Owen also fell to the ground because of their exaggerated movements. A burst of giggling laughter came from around the corner, and there were a few childish laughter trying to pretend to be calm. The four people who came out suddenly felt bad, coughing and trying to cover up their laughter. Adri glanced at the same four people with your foolish eyes, and all four of them immediately looked away. Come out one by one. Reluctantly, another chubby figure appeared around the corner. It was the fifth son of the aunt, Charlotte Opera. Opera wanted to greet Adri in embarrassment, but Adri directly stopped him. Next. Opera wanted to hide something, but was bluffed by Adri's eyes. Charlotte's five older brothers stood helplessly in a corner together, lining up in a row. Come on, next. This time, four figures rolling away appeared again, and they were about to speak when Adri pointed them aside. Stand with your brother. These four are the same size as Opera, and they are quintuplets with Opera. Charlotte Conti. Charlotte Cadans, Charlotte Cavallette. Charlotte Gala. Adri didn't stop there. Next. 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 One or two Charlotte members appear after every sentence. Crocker. Karstad Angel. Zickert. Smoothie. Snammen. Moscato Matthew Lawlin. Mozart. There is no need for Adri to say anything about it, just come out one by one, and soon the entire corridor is full of people from the Charlotte family. The most excessive thing, in addition to not bringing the triplets who were born this year, even the 1-year-old Prim was brought in, and the 2-year-old Snug also appeared with his own sword. Katakuri was about to explain something, but was stopped by Adri. Adri came to the corner and knocked on the wall. The person in the mirror on the wall appeared again. Katakuri Nissan, what's wrong? Watching the appearance of Boulay, he found the triplets in Boulay's hands. Good guy, all the children of the aunt are dispatched. Bree, who saw Adri, was stunned, and found his brothers and sisters standing in a row. Is it too late for her to go back now? Adri covered his eyes. You don't need to say anything, you all go out, there is a lot of space outside. In the outer garden, these Charlottes simply ordered some desserts to be placed. Adri looked at the people who were silently eating dessert, his face was speechless, and he said, You weren't going to be leaning on the door and eavesdropping while I went to consult with your mother? In an instant, the surroundings became quiet, even the sound of chewing the cake stopped, and Opera almost choked, and kept knocking on his back. Everyone looked unbelievable. Adri looked at the group of kids. There are a lot of handprints and face prints outside the door and on the wall. After eating, go back to sleep. I'll go first, and you guys go to bed early. I'm just talking about business with your mother. Saying that, Adri left. Everyone in Charlotte who was still eating dessert was left behind. To be honest, they were a bit jealous why Adrian couldn't be their father. The kinship they drew from Adrian was far greater than what Big Mom drew. At this moment, I even want to see that the two lucky people adopted by Adriatic can actually become Adriatic sons. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 11 Past Events. Chapter 11 Past Events, Recommendation Ticket plus Update. At this time, Katakuri could not sleep for a long time in the dark night. As soon as he saw Adri, he couldn't help but recall the scene when he first met Adri. That should have happened 10 years ago, or how long, he couldn't remember, but at that time, my mother hadn't established Wangua, and they were all living on the pirate ship. Once on the way to the island, he clashed with some people and beat them up severely. Although those people were very weak, they pointed the finger at his sister, Bree. He didn't know it at the time, until someone came to him with his sister in his arms. He didn't understand, and the person who came back with Boulay, more precisely, the person who saved Boulay was Adri. The original Adri Derry asked very nervously if he was my sister's brother, but when he saw the blood on Bree's face and clothes, Bree held back tears. Katakuri knew that he needed to make a change, and he wanted to make those who bullied his sister accountable. At that time, Adri's face was still a little immature compared to now, but Adri did not say anything after confirming that Katakuri was his elder brother. Lee seriously admonished. As a man, as a brother, you have to shoulder the corresponding responsibilities. Boy, do you understand? Your sister is still holding back tears on the way here, planning how to comfort you. So, now you understand. What did you do? Katakuri was moved by Adri's words. He was a little resentful, and blamed himself for implicating Bree. After he nodded, he immediately took up his weapon and went to those bastards to settle accounts. Later, Adri seemed to have communication with his mother, and even began to contact, and had business contacts. Every time I saw Adri, I always heard a lot of things from him. Adri seemed like a real, the figure of the father they craved appeared in their lives. Katakuri recalled, and finally couldn't help the sleepiness, and fell asleep. Like Katakuri, who can't fall asleep for a while, there is also Bulei, who is staying in her mirror world at this time, holding a purple bear doll in her arms, and sometimes touching her cheek, where there is a faint scar. She only remembered that when she was young, she was bullied by a group of villains. They slashed her face. At that time, Adri rushed out, shouted the group of people away, and quickly asked her, who was covered in blood, about her family. Human condition. She saw her brother. Later, she fell into a coma. When he woke up again, he saw the person who rescued her. At that time, Adri also gave her a purple bear doll, smiling and comforting. You are such a brave little girl. You didn't cry all the way. Is your name Bree? What a nice name. At that time, Adri's smile made Bree really feel the warmth, and he foolishly took the little bear and hugged him in his arms, letting Adri stroke his hair. At the time when the scab formed, Adri was still a little worried and said, Girls, it's not good to have scars on your face. Here, this is a kind of scar medicine. After the scabs fall off, apply it 2 or 3 times a day. Indeed, the medicinal effect is very useful, and the scar that should have been hideous is almost invisible now. Bree hugged her doll, and was still about to sneak a peek at others, such as the gentle Katakuri-Nissen. Adri actually didn't need to sleep, because there were a lot of official duties during this period. Even if they were all approved things, he was still a bit too busy. He thought it was time to hire a secretary. When I have further business communication with my aunt later, I will be even busier. And after that, the main story started, and the Chamber of Commerce would be exposed more easily, requiring more disguises, attending more frequently, and having to find a spokesperson. But the business contact with the aunt was particularly prominent at the beginning. At that time, it was only a short time since the start, and the strength was not very strong. It would take a period of time to operate, otherwise, it would be ugly to check. At the beginning, Adri saved the good girl, and Bree was very dissatisfied with the ant's way of raising children, so he went to the ant directly. Although they were dissuaded by Parasparrow and others halfway, because they knew what kind of person their mother was, and Adri saved their sister. But when Adri's insistence made him go to the ant, these people seemed to be watching dead people. The conversation at the beginning was quite interesting. "Boy, who are you?" At that time, Charlotte Lingling had a hot body and an excellent face. Unfortunately, she lacks body management now. The constant childbirth and sweets make her look bad, and she is not as good as this man. "Oh, me? I'm here to teach you a lesson. As a mother, I don't even care about my children." Adri said so calmly. The calmness made the big mom at that time stunned. "Do you know who I am? I'm a big pirate, and any of the subordinates outside can tear you to pieces." The ant threatened, wanting to see some fear and panic on Adri's face. But unfortunately, no. It's a bit unlucky to have a mother like you. You can't even love your children. Adri continued to talk calmly, ignoring Big Mom's increasingly fierce eyes, and even lit a cigarette. The ant's aura rose instantly, and a domineering aura instantly hit Adri, but Adri still sat upright. This made the ant have to look at Adri for a while. At least the other side was not a simple person, and she directly ignored his domineering arrogance. "Besides, you seem to have quite a few races." Adri's words offended Big Mom a little bit. Her ideal is to build a paradise where all kinds of races live together. "Why, you have an opinion." "I just think that all races should coexist peacefully, and every child, no matter what race he is, should receive equal treatment." At this time, one of Big Mom's children broke in, seemingly wanting to plead, "Oh Mom, please don't hurt him, he saved." "Shut up, who allowed you to talk to me like that?" But Adri, who was smoking a cigarette, protected the child behind him and opened his arms. At this moment, the figures overlapped. Big Mom was in a trance, as if he saw the scene where he was guarded by the Carmelite nun when he made a mistake. Her emotions gradually eased, and she told the intruding child to get out, and looked at the photo of the nun that she had always carried. "I think, now you can calm down a little bit, let's talk about it." Yes, but I think we need to communicate first." Big Mom's eyes were full of desire at this moment, and she felt that the person on the opposite side gave her the feeling of a nun, and she needed it. The young ant drew her sword and stood up. "Adri is not in a hurry. Another place, this place is too small." After an hour, Charlotte Lingling, who was in a bit of a mess, felt strenuous. The person on the opposite side was very strange, and her strength was at the same level, but she couldn't resist it. "Who the hell are you? You shouldn't be an unknown person," asked Big Mom. "I'm nothing more than a small businessman now." Merchant." Big Mom clutched his bleeding wound, with an expression that the other party thought he was stupid. But there was also a trace of strangeness. "Hey, do you want to be my husband? The child we give birth to will definitely be a strong man. And I have an ideal, that is to build a world where all races live peacefully together. Don't you expect it?" The ant spoke more and more intensely, her eyes were crazy, and she was even imagining a beautiful blueprint for the future in her mind. Adri stroked his chin and thought about it seriously. "You have a good idea, but I can't accept being your husband." "Then we can't talk properly." "But, didn't I say that? I'm a businessman, and I think we can talk about it later." Can I stay with you for a few more days?" "What? The previous proposal has been decided?" "It's not, it's just that I think your children are very good." "Ah, of course my child is not bad. For the sake of our common ideals and harmonious development in the future, don't you think we should get along first and look at our future partners?" "That's a good thing to say." "Hey, Adrian, be my family." "You should be honored, you are the family I recognize besides my children." "Really, don't you still want me to be your husband? You just gave birth to a few cubs not long ago." "It's fine if you don't agree." "Well, but I can be the uncle of these children, Lingling, what do you think?" Adri. The current update principle for recommendation tickets. A chapter is updated every 5 tickets. Maintain a minimum of 2 chapters per day until the 50 chapters. If there are too many tickets in a day, a maximum of 5 chapters will be updated, too many exceptions. End of this chapter. Chapter 12. Chapter 12. Hey, number 2, why hasn't Adrian come back yet? Doflamingo confronts number 2. And number 2 simply replied, "My lord still has official duties, so we have to delay." But this answer made Doflamingo very dissatisfied. Adri didn't say the exact time when he left. They thought it would be a week at most, but they had almost arrived at their new destination, and they hadn't seen Adri's shadow yet. Adri did not leave a phone bug when he left. Of course, those in charge in the Chamber of Commerce would not have direct contact with Adri. Now only the clothes know. Can have it. Okay, listen, my father is a very busy person. Aren't you also busy with the new site recently? Rosindi looked at the newspaper and defended himself. Doflamingo looked at Rosindi, who was concentrating on reading the newspaper and couldn't help complaining, "What's so interesting that you're still looking at it?" Doflamingo stepped forward and noticed a piece of news: Shihai O'Hara adventure team is leaving. Doflamingo looked at this report and couldn't help but fell into deep thought. Although the place where it happened was a little far away, it had nothing to do with him, but he seems to have heard Adri talking about some, and he even vaguely knew from Adri that this group of academic suitors was for the blank 100 years. Others don't know, but the Tianlong people before him don't know. The world government will not allow that period of history to be discovered. This adventure team is hanging. At this time, the voice of Balubalu came from Noah's body, and No took out a phone bug from his body and hurriedly connected it. The phone worm looks exactly like Adri, and Adri's cold voice also came from the phone worm number 2. "How are Dover and the others doing?" "My lord, very good. The 2 young masters are beside me now." "Oh? Yeah, give them the phone bug." Number 2 handed the phone bug to the Doflamingo brothers. The voice on the phone bug side instantly lost its coldness at the beginning, and turned to gentleness instead. You can easily see the change from the phone bug's imitation. "Dover, Rosie, how are you doing? Have you eaten well? How is your health?" A series of concerns follow suit. The 2 felt a little helpless for a while, but they both felt a little sweet in their hearts. Adri, who has not heard a response, is a little anxious instead, and keeps asking, "Why don't you answer? Your throat is uncomfortable? Are you taking good care of yourself? Is it because the people around you are not serving you well? If you don't like it, call No. And No. To help you kill it. It's almost there. We're doing well. We're not that fragile. It's just that you haven't come back for so long." Doflamingo interrupted in time and went back complaining. "Father, when did you come back?" Rosindi asked the question he had always wanted to ask. He was rarely separated from Adri for so long, and he was a little worried. "Oh? What's the matter? I've been away for too long. You miss me?" Adri asked back, still a little happy in his heart. At least he didn't raise a white-eyed wolf. Doflamingo turned from arrogance at this moment. "Who misses you? Rossi, don't pay attention to him. If you haven't contacted us for so long, you definitely don't want us. Maybe you are looking for a woman." Doflamingo seemed to be complaining unintentionally, but he also accidentally kicked someone in the heart. The phone bug was silent for a while, and Doflamingo thought he had said too much, and immediately wanted to explain. But an apology came first from the phone bug. "Dover, Rossi, I'm really sorry. I didn't take your feelings into account recently. I will pay attention next time." Hearing Adri's solemn apology, everyone in the field was also surprised, especially No. And No. Who were protecting them with them. You could even hear their faces twitching. The faces that usually don't have much expression are surprised at this moment. "Rich." The voice on the other end of the phone bug was amazing again, talking playfully. "By the way, Dover, are you implying that I should find a wife to be your mother?" "What? What? What?" The rising and falling voices resounded through the sky in an instant, and at this moment, no one could calm down. Number 1 next to Adri was trying to recollect this sentence when he heard it, and kept walking to brainwash himself. Did you hear me wrong? Number 1 couldn't help but staggered a bit. On the other side, if it wasn't for the style of the painting, no. And no. Would all want to jump 5 meters high and hit the ground gorgeously to express their current mood. Doflamingo's face was already frozen, and he still had to endure Rocindi's gaze. In fact, he just said casually at the beginning, whether there is anyone around Adri, they still don't know? Not at all, there is not even a little ambiguity, and she is extremely clean and self-conscious, and has never shown this aspect. And with the aspect of adopting Doflamingo, it even made them wonder if Adri was that. On the other hand, no. On Adri's side was constantly wiping cold sweat. There was a thought in his mind, and he didn't know whether to say it or not. After all, they are now in the Big Mom Pirates, coupled with the attitude of the ant, and the thoughts of the children of the ant. This is not. It is not that adults should not take a fancy to Big Mom, right? Right, Lord Adri isn't going to do it directly just because of a word from the young masters, is he? Could it be that Lord Adri is waiting for this sentence? That's even more terrifying. The thoughts in Noah's mind made the cold sweat flow unstoppable. Adri turned around silently and looked at No. Kindly. No, you seem to be thinking about something you shouldn't be thinking about. Extremely sorry, my lord. No. Saw Adri's eyes without thinking about it, his legs softened, he knelt down, and punched the ground with his head. Forget it, get up first, don't disturb my chat with the children. Under Adri's cold eyes, No. Got up immediately. Adri looked at the phone bug gently again. What's the matter? Why don't you two boys talk? At this time, Rosindi had recovered from the shock, and after thinking about it seriously, he felt that it might be because Adri adopted them that Adri had no womanhood. Therefore, as Adri's dear son, warm little padded jacket, you must know how to take care of your old father's heart. Rosinindi and Doflamingo shared their ideas, but they stopped when No. And No. Looked at them with horror. They shook their heads desperately, signaling the two young masters not to do high-risk actions. Well, Adri, I'll just talk casually, you don't have to worry about it. Doflamingo couldn't adapt to being stared at by several people, so he said. Well, yes, if oldAdrian has someone he likes, don't worry about us, we will be very good. Listening to the speech of the silly boy opposite, Adri couldn't help but poochy smile. Listen well, you two silly boys, you don't have to think too much. I just want to raise you up. If you grow crooked due to lack of mother's love, I will blame myself. You can do whatever you want in the future. Tell me, I really should pay more attention to you recently. After all, you are all 13 or 14 years old, and you are also big boys. Adri understands that % of normal children should be in the rebellious period, and isn't the rebellious period also the time for a good father to play a role? Adri added another sentence to the phone bug and hung up. I'll try to come back as soon as possible and wait for me. After hanging up the phone, Adri crossed his hands in front of him, looking out the window and lost in thought. Sure enough, the plan was further accelerated. Looking at the information sent by No, Adri felt that the time was speeding up. The scope of business must be expanded in order to lay a solid foundation in the era of extreme evil. If you don't use force to solve it, relying on the current power alone, when your two cubs grow up in the future, they may be a little powerless. The pace of time has accelerated. Adri felt that it was necessary for him to reflect on himself. No, get ready and leave tomorrow. Yes. Number 1 bowed deeply, then stepped back. However, there were hiccups before Adrian returned. North Sea. The Shanghai Chamber of Commerce's merchant ships sailing at sea encountered pirates. Although the merchant ships were equipped with protective forces, for some reason, their sailing routes were kept secret on weekdays, which was enough to deal with ordinary pirates. But this time they ushered in a big siege. Dozens of pirate groups, large and small, united and took aim at the merchant ships of the Star Sea Chamber of Commerce. This time the merchant ship was to deliver financial materials to the Shanghai branch. The quantity was huge, and the meaning was naturally very important. If this sum of money is plundered by these pirates, it will be a big blow to the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Although it will not hurt the muscles and bones, it will have to be quiet for a period of time to re-lose the funds. The Shanghai Chamber of Commerce has always been famous for its efficient operation and high security. If it makes a mistake this time, it will also lead to a sharp loss in reputation and some suspicions among its partners. The ship that first discovered something was wrong immediately contacted the person in charge of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce in the sea area, but it was impossible to die. The time chosen by the pirates was too strange, so they could not help to send out armed forces, so they could only send a distress signal to the nearest Shanghai Chamber of Commerce merchant ship. Doflamingo and Rosinetti's ship was also within range of the ship that sent the distress signal. Everyone on this ship knew who the characters on board this time were, and they were the two young masters of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. They couldn't just sit back and watch the ship transporting the funds be robbed, and they couldn't transfer the personnel away, because if this was a trick to divert the tiger away from the mountain, the consequences would be even more serious if the two young masters were taken away. But at present, they are the only ones closest to them, and there are not as many armed personnel on other merchant ships. In the end, the captain could only bite the bullet and go directly to the two young masters. "Oh? Are you saying that the merchant ships of our Chamber of Commerce are about to be robbed by pirates?" This was their first contact with the young masters of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. "Is it important? Better send someone quickly." But the safety of the two young masters cannot be avoided. "Don't worry about us, in fact, I can also help the people who lead me, just a few pirates." Doflamingo doesn't want to add trouble to Adri but also wants to make an effort. "No way, young master, pirates are different from the gangsters you dealt with before." On the contrary, number 2 spoke to dissuade. "And Nissan, you can't touch the seawater, it will be very troublesome if you fall into the sea." Rosinanti also added that although he wanted to help, he did not have the strength of his brother. "Do you need to ask your lord for instructions?" Number 3 on the side asked. "No, Adri has been very busy recently, and we don't want to trouble him." "It's true that my father has been very busy recently, and we also need to share his worries." Rosindi hesitated. "No. And no." Saw that the attitude of the two young masters could not be changed, and the two of them could not go against their wishes, so they could only propose. "Leave our ship in the past, and our armed forces will go to support it. However, the two young masters must stay on the ship and be guarded by the two of us." Doflamingo wanted to refuse at first, but as a devil fruit capable user, wouldn't he be able to defeat those pirates? His team members were not simple, so Doflamingo decided to take a step back. "I can stay on the boat, but my people can also help, and I hope to use my ability to kill the enemy remotely. How about it?" "No." Nodded in thought and said, "This is the best, but please remember that your safety is the most important thing. Everything is centered on the two of you, and you must not let the two of you get hurt." Doflamingo and Rosinetti also acquiesced to the statement and directly ordered the captain to go to rescue. The ship struggled forward in one direction. What they didn't know was that there was a group of ships following them in the distance. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 13. Chapter 13. When they arrived, the battle had already begun. Because the merchant ships of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce are divided into the main ship and the auxiliary ship, the pirates have already fought fiercely on the auxiliary ship, but those who entangled the auxiliary ship were all small pirates who were blocked by cannon fodder and stepping stones. The big head is definitely not theirs, so they need to get what they can on the second ship. The pirates put the pirate ship on the ship and transferred it to the merchant ship through ropes and planks. The guards on the deck were already fighting the pirates in full swing, their swords were out of their scabbards, showing their sharpness, and their pistols were in their hands. Sparks were flying for a while, the auxiliary ship was already covered with blood, and people would fall down from time to time. The several large pirate groups attacking the main ship also suffered repeated setbacks. The attack and resistance of the main ship were very fierce, and artillery fire was fired continuously. The pirates have been suppressed because of their scruples about the resources on the merchant ship, but with the huge firepower, as well as some sacrifices and ignition, they finally managed to get close to the main ship. Among them, the largest pirate group of the pirate ship is also the strongest pirate group, the captain of the Rhino Pirates. Rhinoceros, Anishaun also noticed the approach of Doflamingos and other merchant ships. Yunalshaun, Animal Department, Rhinoceros Fruit Ability User, is famous for his cunning character and cruel methods, and offers a bounty of 3,000 million Baileys. Shaun discovered the sign of the Star Ocean Chamber of Commerce on the support ship, and said contemptuously, "There are still some dying, this time we must succeed, little ones, slaughter that ship for me too." It's not that Rhino Shaun is arrogant, but that the total amount of bounties offered by their group of pirates is nearly million. Even if you don't come to rob the Chamber of Commerce, you can attack a kingdom. It is not a trivial matter to condense this force. If it were not for the temptation, information and generous rewards, it would be difficult to unite this group of rebellious pirates, let alone some big pirate groups. Doflamingo also noticed the battle situation, and the captain immediately stopped the ship at a certain distance, and dispatched more than 7% of the combatants to participate in the war on the special speedboat of the Star Ocean Chamber of Commerce. Doflamingo also asked Toribol and others to go there, and their ability should be regarded as experience. Although Doflamingo also wanted to go directly to the first battlefield, Number 2's attitude was very firm. The captain organized the cannon attack preparations, and the densely packed speedboats supported the attacked merchant ships. Each speedboat was equipped with weapons and a dedicated captain. The reason why so many pirates are needed to attack the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce cannot ignore the armed forces of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. You must know that it has only been a few years since the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce was injected into Beihai, but the speed of development has been surprisingly fast. It is precisely this that has caused the interests of some chambers of commerce to be violated, and the previous Sea Freight Chamber of Commerce Amit is one of them. But the other party thought he was so smart that he ran into him, and was accidentally strangled to death by Adri. Second young master, please take shelter inside the hull. Number 3 is not an invitation but stuck. Doflamingo is allowed to be outside because of his strength, while Rosindi is much weaker than his brother. Although no one knows, in the past when Doflamingo was developing, he was also learning how to exercise from his older brother. Rosindi felt that she was underestimated, but she didn't have an attack. "No, I want to stay here. I am also the young master of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce and have the responsibility to stay here." "No." Looked at Rosindi's firm eyes and said nothing, which was regarded as acquiescing, but kept Rosindi away from the main deck. The big pirates have boarded the deck of the main merchant ship, and support has also arrived on the battlefield. Rhino Shaun did not expect that there would be so many guards on that ship, which is not logical at all. Their actions are top secret, and the Starsea Chamber of Commerce will never prepare so many combat forces in advance, so it could only be a coincidence. And it can be protected by so many people. How can the identity? It's a little troublesome, even a little unlucky, but now the primary goal is to capture the main ship, intercept the huge sum of money, and then get the final payment there. Even if the other party does not keep their promises, he has the last resort. Anyway, the final loser is definitely not his Rhino Shaun. Shaun the Rhino ordered the crew, "Give me the boat on board." The huge impact also attracted Doflamingo's attention. Looking at the tall rhinoceros from a distance, he couldn't help frowning. That person gave him a good feeling. He looked at the phone in his hand. The worm calls. "Toribol, take someone to the main ship to help." "Understood, young master." Shaun, the rhinoceros who boarded the main ship, turned into a half-orc form. The huge horns of the rhinoceros protruded from his forehead, and his body became much larger. With part of his body covered by the thick rhinoceros, he went on a rampage and overthrew all those who surrounded him. Now that he wants to make a quick victory, he called a group of younger brothers to come forward and charge into the battle. Toribol and others happened to board the main ship at this time, and they quickly checked the situation for those who had just boarded. "Hey, which team are you from? Who allowed you to come to the main ship?" The person who asked the question was not someone else, nor the person on the main ship, but Shaun, who had activated the half-rhinoceros form. Because the personnel of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce all have special combat uniforms, which are almost the same, but Toribol and others do not. The most important thing is that they are not good people at first glance. Let Rhino Shaun think that the other party is also a pirate at first glance, let alone Torbol's slightly wretched smile. The crew on the main ship became even more nervous when they heard what Rhino Shaun said. It would be more troublesome if there were a few more people. "Are you the pirate who invaded the main ship? Then let us solve it." When Diamante drew his sword, he stepped forward and pointed at Shaun. The collision between the blade and the rhinoceros hide caused sparks. The rhinoceros Shaun was not polite when he saw the opponent directly meeting and slashing, so he raised his fist and hit Diamanti. Naturally, Toripole and others did not allow it, and Virgoi joined the battlefield. And the tense crew members were also confused. Is this internal strife? But seeing Toripole squirming toward them, they raised their swords again. Toripole waved his hand. Relax, we are the subordinates of the young master of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. After saying that, a ship's mate on the side also successfully called to confirm his identity. With the addition of the Don Quixote family, the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce also attacked the pirates in a one-sided trend. With the support on the auxiliary ship, the pirates were also quickly defeated and disintegrated. They were either detained, jumped into the sea directly, or planned to escape back to the pirate ship and make a comeback. A huge pirate alliance quickly disintegrated in an instant. Many pirates also came to Doflamingo's ship in small boats, but their arteries were cut by Doflamingo's thread. Sure enough, it would be good for Doflamingo to learn more about medicine. Not only can he quickly solve the enemy, but he can also try to repair himself, and even use it for torture. Seeing the pirates who were already making a mess, Rhino Shaun secretly hated these idiots, so he quickly got away and went to the pirate ship. When there are still armed forces chasing after. This action was completely different from what he had imagined, and even caused losses to his personnel, all because of the sudden sailing and the other party who did not give useful information in time. Thinking that the general situation is over, he needs to do his best to get back the original. He ordered the navigators to head towards the ship. He had speculated before that the ship was not specially camouflaged, but it was carrying a large number of troops, and the other party had also dispatched a large number of troops just now. If you get that ship, you can definitely win Ben. Shaun simply gathered his forces, gathered those fleeing pirates, and headed to the ship together. After all, the pursuers behind him were not built. Those scattered pirates could help him buy time, or he could pick a few. Okay, let's fill in the current personnel loss. Thinking about it, Shaun asked the navigator to speed up the ship. This time they suffered a loss, and both sides had to pay back, otherwise he would not be Shaun the Rhino. Little ones, bring the boat over for me. I'm the rhinoceros Shaun. Shaun stood at the bow and took the lead, jumping directly to the ship where Doflamingo was. Originally seeing the pirate ship rushing towards them, Doflamingo immediately became excited, and finally it was his turn to show his skills, and he could flex his muscles. Seeing the young master eager to try, silently took a step back. Just now, when he was killing the fish that slipped through the net, he found that something was wrong with his young master. Every time he killed one, he laughed furfurfur, which really belonged to adults. Kind of like an adult. At a time like this, a bodyguard who was a professional bodyguard should of course pretend that he doesn't know anything, and let the person he serves play to his heart's content. After all, the other party came here by himself. Shaun the rhinoceros crashed on the deck. Looking around, he could only see a kid and a man bowing and kneeling behind the kid. Ha ha ha, could it be that you called a brat to surrender? Is your attitude so low? Ha ha ha. But Doflamingo, known as the kid, just walked forward slowly, smiling and twirling his fingers. Looking at the kid walking towards him, his face showed anger. Boy, I advise you not to move. Take me to your most valuable place, sir. I am a devil fruit capable person. Have you ever seen a devil fruit? Maybe you have never heard of it. Oh, devil fruit? I've not only heard of it, but also eaten it. Doflamingo stated calmly, but the pace under his feet did not stop. Zoo-type devil fruit? Hee, it's just a common one, stupid cow. Ha? Do you understand? You. At this moment, Shaun also understood and reacted, but he couldn't move either. Under the sunlight, silk threads were wrapped around his body. As long as he was pulled, blood would spurt. Damn, when is it? Are you also a devil fruit? Shaun felt careless, but before he finished speaking, the silk thread all over his body was pulled suddenly, and the rhinoceros Shaun was cut into large and small pieces in an instant, and the blood sprayed on Doflamingo's glasses. Doflamingo calmly took out a square towel and wiped his glasses while muttering. I'm a Superman-type devil fruit, the ability user of the thread fruit. Doflamingo playfully explained to a pile of blood clots. Adri had taught him that the dead were the best subjects for explanation, because they would never give away. Seeing no. Murdering people mercilessly, he has a feeling for the young master in his mind. On the other hand, no. Looked at the still indifferent Rosindi, and at the same time showed a puzzled expression. He said that there is enough evidence to show that the second young master is not a fuel-efficient lamp. Seeing such a powerful young master, the crew also worked hard to eliminate the younger brother brought by the rhinoceros Shaun. This group of younger brothers have long been scared out of their wits. Their big boss suddenly turned into a piece of meat, who wouldn't be afraid. After cleaning up, the captains of each ship also began to liquidate the loss of personnel and other aspects of the hull. Due to the pirates, the transportation funds were fine. The main reason was that some of the infrastructure of the merchant ships had a big problem, and the merchant ships had to rush to the port as soon as possible. And for the sake of safety, a resolution with a certain young master was passed. 7% of the original guards escorted the merchant ship together. The crew of Doflamingo's ship came to take care of the follow-up of the pirates, and temporarily stopped in place. Doflamingo recalled his own people. After all, they are not directly affiliated with the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. It was his and Rosindi's joint choice to let Chechen guards leave. They learned about this incident through the captain. The goods are very important, so they think it's better to be in case someone is watching them again. Although there are fewer people, as far as they are concerned, there is nothing else to do with no. And no. In addition, there are many armed personnel, and they are already very safe in Beihai. Rocinante and Doflamingo were still standing at the bow, urging the progress of the work. There were quite a lot of things to be salvaged. But at this moment, boom! The hull swayed immediately. Someone attacked the ship, and the cannon directly hit the ship, and soon several shells came down one after another, but they missed, but they also caused waves to rise and fall. What I saw coming towards them was the ship that had been following them for a long time. No, it is more accurate to say that it is a small island formed by dozens of ships. At this time, these islands are disintegrating and attacking them quickly. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 14 Germa 66 in AMP, #039, S intervention. Chapter 14 Germa 60 SAXS intervention. The attackers are ready. Doflamingo, who was in a good mood at first, is not feeling well now, but he immediately went to the runway deck to see the square ships coming towards them. But No, who also came to check the situation, suddenly became gloomy. It's Germa 66. Doflamingo thought he heard it wrong, because there was a cartoon that attracted him deeply during his life in Beihai. The above will be the story of the sea warrior Sola and Germa 60 CXS struggle. What you said, wouldn't it be what I thought? Doflamingo asked uncertainly. Young master, Germa 66 is the power that once ruled the North Sea, and it is the only country without a fixed territory. It is the Vinsmoke family that has mastered this country of technology for generations, and the current patriarch of the Vinsmoke family that is, the king of the kingdom of Germa, Vinsmoke Gage. He is also a rare technological genius and a fighting star. Although he was almost 30 years old, he killed a king of the North Sea kingdom not long ago. He was a lunatic who wanted Germa to rule the North Sea again. He was called Garuda the Strange Bird. Wait a minute, you mean those ships are their land? The people on it? It's all fighters. The Germa kingdom's young males account for more than 90%. It's a country where almost all the people are fighters. They are also well-known mercenaries in the underground world of Beihai, not to mention their technological bonus. Doflamingo couldn't help it anymore. This is a moving sea fortress. Afterwards, Noah's expression improved again, and he expressed comfort. Please don't worry, young master. We haven't seen anyone from Vinsmoke yet, and they haven't dispatched all their troops. It seems that we have been tricked this time. Please find a safe place, young master. I need to talk to you. Discuss on the 3rd. Soon number 2 will leave. And Rosindi was also shocked for a moment. They just finished the battle, and there are still some personnel to be separated. Number 3 was called away by number 2, and Doflamingo also came to Rosindi's side at this time. Hey, Rossi, what do you think? This is a mercenary. Of course I know, the previous pirates have nothing to do with this. It seems that Adri has a lot of enemies. So, Nissan you mean? The other side. So, you've met Germa 66 now? At this time, no. And no. Are reporting everything that happened to Adri via the phone bug. My lord, what should I do now? What to do? What are your heads used for? No. And no. Knelt down immediately, they could truly feel Adri's anger, and Adri's tone made them break out in cold sweat and tremble uncontrollably. Number 2 dared to speak, my lord, look. Do you want the whole thing? It's all your size. Now you can compare it with before. Now is not the time. They are so daring to touch my cub. Probe no. Asked. My lord, are we just the young master? Or all of them? The phone bug fell into a brief silence. Did that Vinsmoke show up? It has appeared, but it doesn't appear to be here for the time being. I see. Let's see if we can discuss it first. If Vinsmoke's kid comes, then I will come in person. Adri hung up on Bug. At this time, no. And no. Finally breathed a sigh of relief, and immediately went to do their own business. Let the captain sound the warning first. This is the Star Sea Chamber of Commerce's ship. Please stop attacking, or you will bear the consequences. But the opposite party still didn't listen after many warnings. Well, the opposite side was a mercenary with Shermu's feelings. And the most exaggerated thing is that the other side also shouted directly, we don't have any malicious intentions, but we were entrusted by others. As long as you hand over the young master of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce on board, we can spare your lives. If not, we will wash this place with blood. Now most of the ships are full of staff, they are just to increase the pressure. Even if those people fight back, they will be blocked by the grassroots. No one will be happy to do it. Under this forced fire suppression, the combatants had just experienced a battle, and they were extremely exhausted physically and mentally. But only a few people on board showed shaken expressions, and even fanned the flames. And as soon as someone like this shows up, number 2 will immediately kill him. The reason why this happened this time is inseparable from the internal response. Number 2 feels that he also needs a certain amount of catharsis. The ship was surrounded by Germa's army at this time, while No silently drew out his long sword, leaped deeply, and slashed towards a certain Germa ship. Obviously it was just an ordinary slashing, but the edge of the sword is like a wild beast rampaging towards the target. That is the power of a swordsman. But at this moment, a yellow figure appeared and unloaded the attack directly, and the smoke was suddenly lingering. After the fog completely dispersed, the figure just now appeared. Vinsmoke Gage, you are finally willing to come out. Humph, I have admired your excellency for a long time, but this time we are also entrusted by others. You should know that with your current situation, it is not easy to protect your young master, let alone protect them. No. Moved backward silently, protecting the 2 young masters, and was ready at any time. Gage also noticed Noah's movements, and said with a smile, is that the young master of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce? This is a lot of money. Although the current Jiaji is still young, and the weapons on his body are far from the high-tech and convenience of the future, and even immature, this amount will bring enough funds for him to study. Originally, it would have been prudent for Gaji to wait until those stupid pirates showed their value before taking action, but unexpectedly, the originally planned easy and simple thing still had flaws, but in Gaji's view, it was not harmful. Anyway, it only took a while to deal with people, and he was sure that the other party would not be able to break through his Germa soldiers, let alone bring 2 oil bottles. This transaction is not a loss. He can even take advantage of the young master of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. He will first get the salary from that side, and then blackmail the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. The president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce will become a fat sheep to be slaughtered. The big winner in the end will only be him, Vinsmoke Gaji. Isn't it familiar? What Jiaji didn't know was that a certain big pirate said the same thing not long ago, and the blood has not yet coagulated yet. And a certain angry fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered is rushing here quickly. Nissan, are you sure? I think number 2 looks a little serious. Rosindi spoke in a low voice. Doflamingo shook his head silently at this time. Now they are besieged by a group of soldiers, and the possibility of rushing out is unlikely, so they can only catch the thief first and the king first. Gage boarded the deck under the gaze of No Warning, and now the two sides are nothing but a stalemate. Doflamingo kept controlling the thread in the dark, and he planned to repeat the same trick to turn the opponent into a piece of meat. Quickly, colorless threads were crawling all over Gage's body, and soon, these threads would also be soaked in blood. Thinking about it, there was a sudden change, but when Doflamingo tried to use force, Gage's face Shangti's expression became playful, and he pulled violently. Doflamingo was about to be torn away because he failed to deliver the cable in time, but at this moment, Rosindi rushed out and pulled Doflamingo away. Brother Ming rescued him, but he himself rolled into Jiaji's hands because of the recovered thread. In an instant, everyone didn't react, because Doflamingo's unauthorized actions made the situation passive. Damn, why didn't you? Doflamingo fell to the ground and beat the deck feebly. Little ghost, if I hadn't just upgraded my armor coat recently, I might have really fallen for your evil spirit. Gage tightly handcuffed Rosindi, who was struggling desperately in his arms. Now Gage has two choices. Grab one and go. Grab two and go, but now, for his clear situation, of course he should choose the second choice. If you only catch one, maybe the other party will give up this one. Gage aimed his pistol at Rosindi's head, threatening, "Boy, are you another young master of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce? You don't want to see your brother get headshot on the spot, do you? Then come here." Number 2 on the side hurriedly shook his head towards Doflamingo. One was caught. It would be a disaster if both were caught. And no. Is still blaming himself, and it is his responsibility that Rosindi was arrested. At this time, Doflamingo was different from everyone's reaction. He smiled. Phew, what if I say no? You better worry about you. Then your brother's life will be gone. For some reason, Jiaji felt a burst of cold sweat on his back, and there was always an ominous premonition spreading all over his body. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly descended from the sky, and a large cloud of smoke and dust rose up. When the smoke disappeared, the original Jiaji was dragged on the ground powerlessly by his throat, and the owner of the hand was Ah, who had gone out for a long time. Deli, Adri's right hand is pinching Gage's throat, and his left hand is holding Rosindi. Although Gage kept trying to break free, it was useless, but Adri's hand became tighter and tighter. His face became more and more uncomfortable, and he slowly spit out a few words. You, who are you? Adri leaned down slowly, and the dangerous smile on his face gradually approached Gage's pale cheeks. It was you who said just now that you were going to kill my dear son. Adri's unquestionable eyes made Gage doubt his life at this moment. Obviously everything was going so well before. Why is this monster that just appeared here? Gage tried hard to defend. Please listen to my explanation. But the twinkle in Adrian's eyes grew brighter. No, don't, you can't kill me. I know. Whoever wants to kill you, I know the employer. Oh, really? Hearing this, Adri released Gage's throat and threw it on the ground. Gage, who was rescued, took a big mouthful of fresh air. At that moment, he seemed to feel the approach of death. Adrian no longer cared about Gage, but just said, "Take your people and get out. I will come to you when the time comes." After saying this, Jiaji immediately rolled and crawled, and fled the scene with the support of the soldiers. Father, is it okay to let them go? Rosindi, who was in Adri's arms, asked worriedly. Adri smiled and straightened Rosindi's hair, and replied, "Don't worry." Then Adri looked at Doflamingo, who was standing aside. Adri put Rosindi down, half knelt on the ground, and stretched out his arms to Doflamingo. "Why, Dover, father is back, don't you want to give him a hug?" Doflamingo trembled, his face flushed a little. I didn't miss you." Doflamingo moved slowly and unwillingly at the beginning to quickly flew into Adri's arms, allowing Adri to hug him full. "Thank you, Dover. You looked very handsome just now, and Rosie, you were very brave when you saved your brother." Adri took Rosindi into his arms again, and simply hugged the two children. "Hey, hello. I'm already 14 years old, so I don't need to carry me away." "Really? Then I'll just hold Rosie." "Stop talking. Then it's your default. My stomach is hungry, so let us father and son have a reunion dinner." Doflamingo lay on Adri's shoulder, silently looking at Rosindi on the other side. End of this chapter. Chapter 15: A Comprehensive Counterattack. Chapter 15: A Comprehensive Counterattack. Dark Knight Adrian was still wearing his black feather coat, and against the backdrop of the moonlight, he looked bleak, making it impossible to see through his expression. There were 3 people kneeling in front of him. They lined up in a row, ready to accept the punishment. This time, both of you have failed your duties. Such an understatement made no. And no. Shudder. They didn't explain it, because all explanations were a cover-up in front of Adri, and what he wanted was the final compensation. Number 2 and number 3 lower their heads even lower. We will take action. The person behind this time, we will make him pay the price. Adri gave them another cold look. Well, no. Well, follow me to teach a disobedient lion a lesson. After talking about no, he disappeared, and Adri gave a warning, don't let this happen again. Yes. When no. And no. Raised their heads again, Adri had disappeared. The 2 looked at each other and disappeared into the night. Germa's castle. Vinsmoke Gage was asking someone to treat the wound. He was in a very bad mood, and he vented his anger on the person who was treating him, but the other party didn't dare to say anything. Damn it, you dare to humiliate me like this, let me see him again, I will definitely. What must it be? A cold voice came. In the afternoon, the person holding his throat appeared. Gaji hurriedly picked up his combat uniform, and countless soldiers poured into the room, filling the interior in an instant. You, how did you appear? Forget it, never mind. I never thought you would dare to come. Now that my people are here, you can't help it. Gage changed from the original panic to the arrogance on his face. He didn't expect that the idiot who let him go would dare to come. This time, the clone soldiers were all there, and they would block the gun for him fearlessly. But before Gage finished his arrogance, Adri disappeared in a flash. Gage was held by the throat again and held up high, and Adri looked at him as if he was watching a fresh prey full of danger. How so? Gage's previous fear hit his heart again, and the biting chill surrounded him. His feet kept struggling, but his hands had no strength to resist. His peripheral vision glanced at the soldiers around him, which made him even more desperate. Those soldiers are all standing still. Why? He the master is in danger, why don't they move? Jeji's body swayed even more violently, a breath-cold despair climbed up his body, he began to twitch, his eyeballs seemed to be popped at any moment, tears, snot, all expanding outwards, a smell of disgust. A light yellow liquid also flowed from his crotch and flowed down his legs to the ground. Adri looked at Gage like this, felt disgusted instantly, and threw it to the ground, but Jiaji, who managed to get out of the tiger's mouth again, was still sitting there in a daze. The clear handprints and bruises on his neck still made him feel suffocated. Adri sat on the sofa, crossed his legs, and looked at Gage contemptuously. Don't worry, I won't kill you, but you moved my son, don't you think you have to pay something? Adri's smile became more and more strange, and he took a document and a pen from number 1 who suddenly appeared on the side. Sign it, it will be written off, how about it? Gage staggered towards the table, flipping through the documents, but his heart became more and more depressed. This is a contract. His last remaining sanity told him not to sign. But under Adri's gaze, he still signed his name silently. After no. Took the document and confirmed it was correct, he nodded to Adri. Looking at the completed document, Adri nodded with satisfaction. Don't worry, as long as you don't provoke the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce in the future, we can even provide you with convenience, and we don't care about your other actions at all. We are a cooperative relationship. Gage nodded stiffly, which was much better than he thought, and it is true that some treaties were friendly to him. Who are you? Gage asked hesitantly. Adri seems extremely casual. Me? Didn't I tell you a long time ago? I am the president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Gaji's pupils dilated again, and the other party's tone did not lie. Oh, yes, the person who hired you. Relax, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Pleasure, then, my partner. In a dark room, what's going on? Those useless pirates. Not only has it arrived safely, but many of our people have been pulled out. Is there no news from Germa? Not yet. Damn it, the money has been spent, they don't want to swallow the money for nothing. Don't forget, our Chamber of Commerce paid a lot of money this time. Return to your Chamber of Commerce. If the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce finds out, we will all have a hard time. So what if they find out, they don't have evidence, and they won't have the guts to confront us head-on? Is that so? The original 5-person meeting suddenly fell silent. Miston, we trust you to join. One of them looked at the tall and thin man sitting on the main seat and said with a slight warning. After all, he was the one who led the show, and he was the one who facilitated the union of the 5 chambers of commerce, and he is also the most powerful party of the Chamber of Commerce among the 5 people present, and he is also the party most threatened by the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Just then, there was a knock on the door. One of the short, fat men present shouted, "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you not to disturb us?" The eyes of the other 4 people are also focused on this short and fat man, because he provided the darkroom today. If the other party, everyone no longer thought about it but turned their eyes to the door that kept making noises. Everyone suddenly felt bad, because for the sake of safety, the door lock was unilateral, and the key and the keyhole were on their side. Horrified cries and cries for help came from outside. Soon, the voices disappeared, and the outside fell into silence again. It seems that everything before is an illusion. The 5 people's nerves were extremely tense at this moment, and cold sweat was streaming down their foreheads. At this moment, all their attention was focused on the door. Boom! There was a knocking sound, and a protrusion appeared on the special metal gate, and the knocking sound continued. Boom! Boom! Everyone's heart trembled suddenly. Looking at the gradually deformed gate, the fat man could not help but tremble all over. Boom! The gate was opened abruptly, and the twisted gate fell to the ground. The tall and thin Miston also quickly entered a state of alert at this time, and his pistol was already aimed in the direction of the gate. And the 2 figures looming in the dust. When the door was knocked open, a bloody smell rushed over. The outside was bloody, and the walls were covered with hideous blood clots. Seeing the scene clearly, Miston's pistol shot at the 2 of them without hesitation. The guards outside were the cronies brought by the 5 of them, and this action caused them heavy losses. One of the presidents of the Chamber of Commerce was already pale from the sight outside, his legs were weak, and the impact on his stomach made him vomit outright. The bullet was fired without a doubt, but Miston felt weird. The figure in front of him had disappeared, and the next moment, a knife was placed on his neck. When? Miston didn't dare to act rashly. The other person who broke in pointed his gun at the other 4 presidents who made small moves. Do not move. A gloomy voice spit out from the mouths of the 2 intruders. The 2 discussed it as if they were chatting naturally. Kill? Do not. Slaughter? Do not. Punishment? Do not. Every time he said the same thing, everyone present could not help but swallow their saliva. An obese man could no longer bear the fear. Let go, let me go. I can give you money. Please. Me, I can do it too. Me too. The intruder didn't pay attention, but fired at everyone's side, made a silent gesture, and pointed at a thin man. I ask, you answer. Understand? The skinny man nodded frantically, watching the black muzzle pointing at himself. You set up a joint chamber of commerce to hire pirates to attack the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, right? Oh no, you, listen to me explain. There was a bang gunshot, and a bullet passed along the cheek of the man who felt it. Reply. The shooter seemed a little impatient. Yes. At this moment, not only the skinny man, but also several other people couldn't help twitching. Who started it? It's him. Miston. The president of the Shell Chamber of Commerce. I'm just confused about him, please forgive me. The rest of the people also nodded. Miston watched the crowd expose him, and wanted to counterattack while the person holding the knife was not paying attention, but he was discovered immediately, and the person behind him stabbed him without hesitation. What? That's the guy. The man who stabbed the knife glanced at Miston, who was lying on the ground. At this time, he was trying his best to cover the wound, and the pain made him unable to stand up for a while. He watched the man who stabbed him wipe the blood off the sword, then took out a sharp weapon with a hook, swung it silently, inserted the hook into Miston's back, and dragged Miston. Like this he walked out of the room, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Miston also screamed because of the friction on the ground. "Leave this to me. You can figure out the rest." The person who dragged Miston smiled and explained to the other person. The other person put down the gun in his hand, changed his original fierce and cruel appearance, and gradually showed a chilling smile. "Come on, everyone, please sit down, let's talk about business. Don't worry, nothing will happen to you. Please speak, or I'll suspect no one." End of this chapter. Chapter 16 Adri and Amp, #039, as friend. Chapter 16 Adri's friend, recommendation ticket plus update. "Hey, Adrian, you have a strong smell of blood recently, as do know. And no. Are you going to settle the matter?" Doflamingo held the book and said seemingly unintentionally. "Ha? Is it still very strong? I deliberately re-smoked my clothes. I will pay attention next time." Doflamingo just chuckled as he watched Adri, who was lying on the windowsill taking an afternoon nap, put his hands behind his head. "Sure enough, it's time to liquidate." Doflamingo had a guessing expression. "Don't you often do this prey thing, Dover? There are some things you don't do cleanly." "Really, do I need to learn from you?" Doflamingo put down the book in his hand and looked at Adri's position. Adri also got up, half leaning against the bed, enjoying the warmth of the sun. "It's okay if you have time, Dover, there are some things that should be taught by example." "Oomph, just you, do business like you." Doflamingo is a little speechless. The recent newspapers have been a bit ruthless. The Shell Chamber of Commerce in Beihai has heard that it has ushered in a major internal cleaning. Others don't know, but he knows that the Shell Chamber of Commerce is now completely controlled by Adri in the hands of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. For this kind of confidential information, Adri never shy away from Doflamingo and Rossindi, and sometimes even let Doflamingo know some information that surprised him. Adri is really very dark. The Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is currently in Beihai, at least in the eyes of Beihai civilians. It is a very good chamber of commerce, but in fact the economic chain of this area can be said to be controlled by Adri. There are many large and small chambers of commerce in Beihai, and it can be said that there are people from Adrian, and they even directly join them. Adri's Shanghai Chamber of Commerce will never be the only one in the eyes of the outside world. Adri's demand is only that others cannot easily shake it. Doflamingo once suggested that Adri's scale could even control one party, but Adri just smiled at that time. If the world government knows all this, it will not let it go, so Adri will not be the first bird. Adri still has a lot of industries in the dark, and even has a special dark side chamber of commerce to deal with some things. Even at the right time, I will hit myself, showing the illusion of contending with the opponent. All this is too simple for him, neither party may even know they are a boss. This is what Adri wanted. This is not just his arrangement in the North Sea. There are traces of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce in other sea areas in the New World, and they all have a different shadow. All kinds of things, even so many that even Doflamingo didn't know or dare to imagine. "Hey, Dover, I have some old friends coming here, and I plan to get together with them. Are you going?" Adri said to Doflamingo with a smile, and picked up a book from the shelf beside him and read it. "Ha! It's rare to call me. Actually, I want to ask Rossindi to go, but this is an opportunity to make contacts. Maybe you will use it someday?" Doflamingo was a little moved. "Go and tell your brother, remember to ask the maid to help you dress up a little bit. Oh yes, and, do you still have the amulet I gave you?" Doflamingo pulled out the pendant he had given him from his collar. "Very good, when you go, remember to also remind Rossindi to take this outside." Adri said and pushed Doflamingo to the door. "Okay, let's go. We're leaving in the afternoon, and we're going to have dinner there." Adri closed the door in a series, and Doflamingo, who was left alone outside the door with a speechless face, complained. "Baffling. In the afternoon, what is this? Don't touch my hair. Let me go. Adri, I'm not done with you. Nissan, please face reality. You can go and see what has become of your father. Who are you? At this time, Adri's face changed a lot in front of them. Adri lifted up all the hair that was always in front of his eyes and combed it back. It seems much sunny, although the word is strange, but it is true. They seemed to realize it at this moment, and Adri's beard was also shaved off. It is not an exaggeration for Adri to say that he is a young man in his 20s, and his whole person exudes a sense of intimacy. It is completely different from what the previous black suit brought to people. It's even like a different person. Adri's clothes today are not as conservative as usual. His upper body is a white shirt. The first two buttons of the shirt are unbuttoned, which looks a bit bohemian. The decoration dangling on his chest is a black pendant, and the dark trousers made him look very clean and neat, and there was a saber pinned to his waist. "Hi, you're Adri, right?" Doflamingo asked with great uncertainty. "That's needless to say, bastard, go and fix your hair," Adrian warned angrily. "Your sword is a decoration, right? I've never seen you play with a sword." Indeed, in Doflamingo's impression, Adri is more about short blades and guns. "Who knows, go do your business," Adri replied with a smile, with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Doflamingo looked pissed. Why would they want Adriatic bastard dressed like this? Doflamingo was forced to apply hairspray, combed his hair back, and put on a wine-red waistcoat. Rosindi is also dressed similarly, and both of them hang the red pendant outside. "Hey, father, is your pendant the same style as ours?" Rosindi looked at the black pendant on Adri's chest. Adri picked up the black pendant and explained, "Yes." "Then why is it black?" "Because it's a symbol of our identity. According to our saying, my generation is black, while my child is red." Adri suddenly smiled and stroked Rosindi's hair and added, "After you all there is a child, it is blue, that is, my grandson." Doflamingo, who had already finished his hair, walked over angrily and complained. "Adri, how old are you? You really don't look like a middle-aged man. You didn't grow a beard before." "What do you think I grow a beard for, Dover? You're asking a stupid question." In fact, there is no need to guess Adri's age at all. Even if Doflamingo casually asks number 1 or number 2 or number 3, he can get the answer. "That's when your dad is enough." Doflamingo felt that if he could see Adri's old friends this time, he might be able to discover Adri's true age. The group quickly boarded the boat. Looking at Adri, who was crossing his legs and drinking a small fruit juice leisurely, Doflamingo said that Adri is getting better and better. To be honest, Adri was still cold like a machine at the beginning, but recently he can be said to be old and dishonest. Although it doesn't look old just from the outside. "Hey, two boys, there is one thing I have to say in advance. You should be more obedient at that time. The other party should like a more obedient child, especially you, Dover. Restrain yourself, this is my serious friend." "Ha? Serious friend, Adri, I'm sure now. You are definitely going to meet someone. You even dressed like this." "Oh. Really? Father. Your little heads should be normal. Anyway, just don't talk nonsense when the time comes," Adri still urged. Although he knew that with the IQ of these two cubs, he wouldn't know. Friends also need some secrets. Rosindi is still thinking crazy at this time. It must be Adri who misunderstood what his brother said last time. Thinking of Rosindi, he specially signaled to Doflamingo that it is very good, they need to cheer up today. Doflamingo also secretly looked forward to, for a person like Adri, what would his friends be like? The first wave of poison is about to refresh, kneeling for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 17. A candidate for a future stepmother appears. Chapter 17. A candidate for a future stepmother appears. More poisonous. "Hey, Adri, you're lying." Doflamingo looked at the bouquet of flowers stuffed in his hand with a black line on his face. Adri had just entrusted him with the important task of helping him get the flowers so that he could give them away. Now Doflamingo can't be sure. "Adri, this may come true." Seeing Adri's serious look, Doflamingo didn't know what to say, but when they came to the pickup place, Doflamingo became suspicious again, because the opposite was a warship, Navy warship, formal. Doflamingo expressed his extreme concern. Although Adri isn't a good guy, so is Doflamingo, but the Navy shouldn't care about him as a gangster. Doflamingo comforted himself. Someone like Adrian knew, perhaps a corrupt man he'd bribed in the Navy, right, but seeing the three people coming down from the warship in high spirits, Doflamingo was not sure again. Its 3 lieutenant generals, Adri was the first to go up to say hello. Yo, you are late, Sengoku, Garp. Among the 3 of them, Sengoku, who had an afro with his personality, yelled. It's too late? Adrian, you bastard, do you know how difficult it is for the 3 of us to approve leave at the same time? Okay, yo, Adri, actually, we happened to meet a short-sighted pirate who came to attack us on the way, but the other party simply leaned on our boat. Garp, who is strong but looks extremely unprincipled, added. Adrian smiled helplessly. Come on, I have prepared a lot. Afterwards, Adri snatched the bouquet from Doflamingo's hand first, and put it straight to the blue-haired woman who had been silent all the time. He leaned forward and said softly, long time no see. Seeing this situation, Sengoku looked aggrieved, while Garp laughed from the sidelines, obstructing Sengoku who was about to rush forward. Rocindi's eyes are full of curiosity at the moment. It's a trick. Now he is very curious about how the lady who has become a crane will answer his father. Maybe he will have a mother soon. The more Rocindi thought about it, the more excited he became, and he had already filled his mind. Doflamingo also watched the performance of the 4 with great interest. I saw Crane accepted the bouquet of flowers calmly, and murmured. Adri, you really remember. All of a sudden it's over. At this time, Warring States wanted to change the topic. Adri, don't you introduce the 2 boys next to you. Adri didn't care about Crane's response, but turned around and directly hugged Doflamingo and Rocindi in his arms. The 2 of them are my sons. The one on the left with an unconvinced face is the eldest son, Doflamingo, and the cute one on the right is the second son, Rocindi. Seeing Adri's natural introduction, a strangeness flashed in Zhangguo's eyes, and then disappeared deeply. Oh. I didn't expect, Adri. You have such a big son. Garp nodded on the Sinbei and said. Of course, let's go to the boat first, the food is ready. Adri simply pushed the Warring States and left. Rocindi stayed behind, observing the blue-haired woman from time to time. Little guy, are you looking at me? You can call me Ms. He. Rocindi, who was suddenly named, was inexplicably nervous. Okay, Ms. He. Is there something wrong with you? No. Rocindi lowered her head again, but she has already defined Ms. He. She is very gentle, seems good to be a mom. Okay, it's rare for us to talk, don't be too polite, let's eat. I have specially prepared good wine. Then let me try it. By the way, Garp, I heard that you beat the head of a pirate with a bounty of over $1,000,000, the green peppercorn. Adri looked at Garp who was eating too much and asked, huh? Are you talking about the country of flowers? That's it, the old man's iron fist is not vegetarian. Ha. You really have a big heart, so you won't be afraid that he will trouble your son in the future. By the way, your son is almost old. Heh, don't mention that bastard to me. If that green pepper really went to him, I'd love it. That kid doesn't want to join the army. Garp said and knocked on the table angrily. Adri turned to talk to Crane again. Hey, these 2 kids are pretty good, right? Hichien said while tasting the wine in front of him, it's not bad. That little fellow Dover might ask you to take care of him a bit later, but he's a little self-willed. Hey, boy, come join the army, I will definitely train you to be an admiral. Garp said to Doflamingo. Doflamingo didn't say a word, and simply turned around arrogantly, ignoring Garp. Adri rubbed Rocindi's hair. Warring States, this kid is very good. This little guy said before that he wants to be a navy. Yes. Zhangguo's eyes were a little erratic, so he simply pulled Adri aside to drink. Seeing that there was no one around, Zhangguo asked in a low voice. The 2 kids. I know. Then how dare you? Who decides the future? Children are innocent, and their future path depends entirely on their own wishes. I will not interfere, as long as it does not involve death. Adri lit his cigarette again and took a deep breath. Warring States looked at Adri not talking. Adri spoke silently. Warring States, they are my sons. All of a sudden, the 2 sides fell into silence again. Zhangguo looked at Adri's firm eyes, turned his face away, and cursed in a low voice, you bastard, there are more. Zhangguo helped his forehead. What do you think about Ahi? If you really want to marry Ahi, adopting a child is not a small obstacle. If so, don't delay her. Zhangguo paused for a long time before speaking his words. The other side is still at the banquet. Well, Uncle Garp, Rosanetti asked boldly, how did you meet your father? With Adri? Garp chewed the food in his mouth, fell into thinking, as if he was recalling something, and then slowly said something about the past. We met at the conscription office. We were sailors in the same period. We shared adversity and supported each other. At that time, I, Zhangguo Adri, and Heek were all elites of the younger generation. Then when we got promoted right before your eyes, your father ran away and said he was going to run the Chamber of Commerce. Hey, do you think there is something wrong with your father? The key is that his swordsmanship back then was known as the defending great swordsman among us. So smart. Rosindi was surprised, and Doflamingo, who was on the side, was also surprised at this time. It was rare to hear about Adri's youthful past. It seems that Adri's swordsmanship is not bad. Then who is the strongest among you? Doflamingo asks an embarrassing question. Immediately, Garp couldn't help coughing a few times. Then that, of course it's haha. Just as he was about to say the answer, Garp burst into a snot bubble and fell asleep, holding the unfinished chicken leg in his hand. Doflamingo's eyes were full of surprise, and Rosindi turned his attention to Miss He, who was indifferent. Don't worry, just fell asleep. Of course, the two of them knew that Garp was asleep, but they fell asleep while talking like this, which is too wrong. Eating and falling asleep, this is a personal thing. All of a sudden, there was no shout from Garp, and the banquet venue fell into silence again. Rosindi rubbed his hands, hesitating, then couldn't help getting up, and asked he quietly, well, Mizahe, may I ask, what is your relationship with your father? At this moment, even Doflamingo couldn't help pricking up his ears to listen. Garp, who was still sleeping just now, woke up immediately. At this time, all the eyes of the audience were focused on he, who was cutting the steak gracefully, said quietly, Adri and I. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 18 Disrupted. Chapter 18 Disrupted. Adri and I. We're back. At this moment, Adri, who had already walked away, joined hands with Zhangguo and interrupted his words. What's going on with you two? Are you drunk? Cap looked at the two suspiciously. No, I just suddenly remembered that I have something to ask you. Adri said, pulling Doflamingo to his side. My boy is going to be a pirate in the future. What? Adri, explain. Zhangguo, who was still in a good mood just now, was suddenly confused by this, which is different from what he just said. No, this is not the point now. Adri directly ignored the eyes of everyone, as well as Doflamingo, who was looking even more wrong beside him. Why do you have to tell these vice admirals about this kind of thing that hasn't happened yet? Doflamingo looked at Adri in disbelief. Facing Doflamingo's gaze, Adri gave a dangerous and gentle smile. Well, Doflamingo thinks it's over. Adri wants to sell him. Hey, although it's not right now, maybe it will be in the future, so do you want us to take this kid to the Navy for training? Or, it's not this, the main reason is that I hope that when he grows up, I can't control it anymore. I hope you can. Let him go? That's impossible. It's not that you don't understand me, what I mean is that as long as you can't die, you can beat yourself to death. Ha 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 ha. In an instant, Garp was so excited that he even threw away the food in his hand, tears of laughter and applause. Rosindi's eyes at this time were also incredulous, even looking at his brother with a little pity. Hey! Rosindi, what kind of eyes do you have? Doflamingo couldn't help it, the eyes of these people clearly agreed with this proposal. What is Adriatic doing? He now understands the connection Adri said at the beginning, obviously to make him show his face in front of the Navy. Boy, you don't really want to be a pirate, do you? Cap showed his fist. Doflamingo simply pretended not to see it. Hey, Cap, where's your brat? I haven't seen you in a while. Ha? Don't mention him to me, what a jerk. Garp, your family is getting old, did you have any grandchildren? It's still early, my grandson will definitely be the future admiral of the Navy. By the way, Adrian will let our grandson come later. Kiss and kiss? It's okay. I think it's good. I'm afraid they're all boys. That's okay, just ask for help. How? Okay, I'll ask someone to bring the paper. Hey, you didn't even ask me for my opinion. Doflamingo directly stopped him, and let's talk about his relationship with children in the future. Dover, think about it. In this way, you will have an extra nephew in the future. At that time, the child will have to call you uncle or father-in-law. Doflamingo expressed his disdain. Adri said to himself, still took a piece of paper, and simply made a successful bet with Carp, asking someone to keep the paper. Adrian still had a little hope in his heart. A certain little Luffy who is not even an embryo is now engaged to be married. I am really curious about Luffy's expression when he sees Brother Ming, but with Garp's virtue, he would probably wait until Luffy grows up to remember to tell him. Adri. At this time, Warring States specifically reminded Adri, as if signaling something. But Adri waved his hand and continued to chat with Carp. Hey, Garp, I heard that you've been chasing that Roger all over the world recently. How about it? You haven't caught it yet. Huh? I made a mistake. If Roger wasn't too cunning, I would have caught him long ago. But the crane on the side added, I don't know who it is. When I see Roger, I will only rush forward, and even give up the navy behind me to face it alone, and I don't listen to the advice of the staff at all. When Warring States thought of this problem, it was quite a headache. Carp's temper is really hell when they are promoted to generals in the future. Carp, a bastard, doesn't know if he can be trusted. At this moment, Adri glanced at Zhangguo with his eyes, and then touched Garp with his elbow. After tacit eye contact, Carp said, "Oh, some of us big men went to Adri's to steal some fine wine. So please help me take care of Rosie and Dover." Looking at the coy looks of a few people, especially Garp's evasive eyes and the characteristic crooked mouth when lying, he also knew that things were not that simple, but they were all trustworthy people, and he didn't really pursue it. In her opinion, percent of these people have some men's affairs to deal with. He nodded calmly to express his agreement, and watched the few people quickly leave his sight. Now only the crane and the two children are left. He felt that it was necessary for him to communicate well with his children. Unlike the girls under her family, how to communicate with boys was a bit of a headache for he. On the contrary, Luo Shidi still intends to clarify the doubts in his heart because this matter is of great importance. Rosindi adjusted his mentality and decided to ask directly. Ms. Crane. What's the matter? Your name should be Rosindi. What a lovely child. He also tried his best to look gentle. Excuse me, do you like our father? This solemn question and answer made the resourceful he become dull at the moment. Rosanindi's question was considered tactful before, and she only intended to blur it out, but now. His face was a little flushed, but he immediately regained his composure. Now she is no longer a young girl. Although Crane can be said to be middle-aged in terms of age, she looks very young, and it may be because of its fruit. Crane looked at Rosindi and Doflamingo, whose eyes were filled with anxiety, and Doflamingo who was concentrating on the side. She didn't know how to answer, because in front of her were Adri's two sons. If time goes back 20 or 15 years, or even 10 years ago, she is possible. But not now, even though she has never been married, not only because of her career but also because she has no suitable and favorite candidates. Now she can't answer this question directly, even if she doesn't understand this question clearly, let alone Adri's attitude makes her unable to figure it out. In the first issue of Carp and Warring States, she can't compare with her in terms of resourcefulness and intuition. Crane, when she first met Adri, a strange feeling surrounded her. She is really not sure, nor can she find out what Adri really looks like. She even feels that Adri is very strange. Adri is like a learner without much emotion. From the first meeting to the present, Adri's emotions and personality are very good. It is this too real sense of reality that makes he feel that something is wrong. These two children gave her an unusual feeling, so he decided not to answer but to change the topic. Then do you like your father? Can you tell me the story between you? Although he didn't get an answer, but asking about this place was what Rock Indy expected. His expression became excited. He really wanted to tell others how gentle Adri is, how, like a real father, but just when Rosindi was about to speak, he was interrupted by Doflamingo, because Adri told him that Rosindi probably said something that shouldn't be said because of excitement. Looking at Doflamingo, who blocked him, Rosindi was not stupid, and also realized his momentary gaffe. Because Rosindi is also a member of Don Quixote's family, and he has never suffered less than his brother after that experience. Because he is also like his brother, Doflamingo, they know one thing clearly, but Rosanetti never reveals it. Adrian was never a nice guy. But what about this kind of thing for him? As Zhang Jin's celestial dragon, he still knows very well that he, once, seemed not to be a good person. For Rosindi, Adri was a good father who rescued them from the ruins and restored the warmth of their home. Adrian's point is enough. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 19, Branch Chamber of Commerce. Chapter 19, Branch Chamber of Commerce, Recommendation Ticket plus Update. That night. Few people know what happened. Garp and Sengoku sent warships to pick them up and return to Hong Kong early without hesitation. Although they both had heavy responsibilities, fools would not enjoy the rare holidays, and the two who returned to their posts immediately, actually also just feeling the need to keep yourself busy and leave someone nowhere to be found. Early morning, the sober Adri felt that it was necessary to break up with the two bastards Sengoku and Carp. Good guy, I also staged an infernal affairs for him. Warring States and Adrian, who had already planned to invite Carp, but Carp, no, it should be Warring States, secretly colluded. After a series of mysterious operations, things became more and more wrong. In fact, Warring States has always been suspicious of Adri's rhetoric. Before coming here, both Warring States Carp and Crane had already learned about the life experiences of the two children under Adri's special circumstances, but after a secret meeting with Adri, they also generally knew. May face things in the future. Although Warring States felt a little disapproving, he didn't refute it, because this is not the most important thing at the moment. Garp and the Warring States can be said to be in the eyes. As far as the matter of Adri and he is concerned, there are no accidents. This created an accident last night. Nothing was revealed, only that Lieutenant General he returned to the headquarters a little later than the other two Lieutenant Generals. There is no one in Adriatic who was talking about any gossip, because everything is blocked. Since the morning, only Adri and he know about this matter. Run away. Although the Crane return was the same as usual, but as a staff officer, she began to strictly control Sengoku and Garp in some aspects. Both Sengoku and Garp couldn't be sure if this was revenge against them or if Crane was working hard again. Rosanindis, who had breakfast together in the morning, looked at Adri with a bit of resentment, and Doflamingo was also a little unhappy. It's no wonder he was happy. Dover, Rosie, what do you think of Auntie? Adri asked calmly. At this moment, Rosindi's eyes immediately became bright, and he looked at Adri with a hint of disbelief. Doflamingo's complexion also changed drastically, and he suddenly felt bad. This kind of question has almost made Adriatic's attitude clear, and now he is asking for the opinions of the two children. Moreover, it's not that their two sons are bragging, but on the condition of Adri, there are not a few people who want to marry him. Back then, when Doflamingo and Rosindi went to school, there were many girls and young women squatting at the door, hoping to build a good relationship with the two children and develop further with Adri. Even an aristocratic widow who saw Adri by chance came to the door directly, and said that she didn't care about Adri's two sons. Even some classmates in the class, especially some little girls, liked Adri very much. Whenever Adri came to pick them up in person, he would also give some small gifts to their classmates as a meeting gift. The impact of all this is that Adri is happening in a low-key situation. So, what's your answer? Adrian continued to ask. I think it's fine. Rosindi replied, secretly adding a sentence in his heart. It is also suitable for motherhood. Hey, Adri, don't you think you have a crush on that man? If we both think it's good, are you going to marry that female navy? Doflamingo's expression is not good, he hasn't settled the score with Adri. Adri looked at the reaction of the two and just smiled helplessly. That's not what I meant. What? Rosindi was a little disappointed. Did he feel wrong? Impossible. You say that, who knows what you think? Doflamingo stuffed a piece of baked potato into his mouth carelessly, and he didn't bother. Adri also seemed determined to end the subject. By the way, Dover, Rossi, I've been a little busy recently. If you can you help me visit the branch of the Chamber of Commerce in the Kingdom of Longzito? There is a problem with the bill there recently. Ha? Us? Of course, in any case, you should also exercise your abilities. Forget what I said, I have to be busy with the affairs of the Don Quixote family recently. Dover, you are the young master of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. You must be familiar, at least the outside world knows you. Nissan, shall we go together? Rosindi also has some expectations, he is usually a little bored. Doflamingo rolled his eyes, saying he didn't want to pay attention. But Adri just continued to smile and took out a document. This is some information about the Longzito Kingdom, Dove, maybe you are interested. Adri Xiaoman took a sip of tea and looked at Doflamingo calmly. After taking it, Doflamingo flipped through it casually, and glanced at it casually, but soon a place with a horizontal line caught his attention. Doflamingo looked at the document, and then looked up at Adri who was staring at him. Seeing Doflamingo's gaze, Adri asked, "How, are you interested now?" "Well, it's okay. Brother, can you show me the file?" Rocinante suggested. Doflamingo hesitated. "Rosie, I have another copy here, pick it up and have a look." Without waiting for Doflamingo to answer, Adri handed the other copy to Rosindi. "By the way, Dover, you can take your people with you. Rosie, do you need to accompany me? 3 is also free recently." "No need, father, I'm already 12 years old, don't worry." Listening to what Rosindi said, Adri was silent for a long time. "That's it, Dover, Rosie, just you two. How about it? I think everything will be all right as long as there are no accidents." Doflamingo also thought about it and nodded. "Well, this time I'll take it as your personal experience, and I won't let no. And no. Follow. Are you really worried?" Doflamingo asked. "Of course, this time you can help me check the account books of the Chamber of Commerce and other things, and I will make a list for you then." Adri thought, and ordered the people on the side to prepare. "If it's just us 2 children, who would believe it at the Chamber of Commerce? Don't worry, I will let someone notify you over there." "Oh yes, your pendants or tokens." "Ha? Pendant, are you kidding, so ordinary?" Doflamingo picked up the pendant on his body and looked at it in disbelief. Rosindi also held up his own pendant. "Then we lost it, can someone pretend to be us?" "Maybe it can." Adrian replied jokingly. "Isn't that too easy, you just let us hang around like this?" Of course, it can even be said that it is a little bit of recognition of things but not people. Doflamingo was a little speechless, but Adri's heart was really big. "Are you not afraid that your pendant will be snatched away?" Doflamingo asked. "Don't worry about this. The core members of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce all recognize me. The pendant is just insurance." It was really the first time for Doflamingo and Rosindi to hear Adri talking about these things, and they were a bit mysterious. "By the way, if you have something you like and you don't have enough pocket money, you can get it directly from that Chamber of Commerce." "Is this really good?" Rosindi was a little embarrassed. "Don't worry, little Rossi, didn't I tell you that you also have dividends? Even the Chamber of Commerce in that area can be included in your personal name if you like." Adri seemed to be talking about a trivial matter. Indeed, Doflamingo and Rosindi also understood Adri's wealth very early, and even knew that Adri had never had any restrictions on this aspect. This is the first time they have participated in business. As young masters, it is also rare for them to travel alone for such a long time. Doflamingo glanced at the information on his profile again, a smile gradually appeared on his face. "This is no small matter. This is more poisonous, everyone will be fine after a while." End of this chapter. Chapter 20 Attack of the Pirates. Chapter 20 Attack of the Pirates. Looking at the sailing boat in the distance, Adri turned and returned to his office. At this time, number 1 is standing by the table. Adri sat straight on the chair, his hair drooped down again at this moment, and he returned to the gloom of the past, but his lazy sitting posture gave people a feeling of calmness and prestige. "No. stayed aside and didn't dare to go forward. He had to wait until Adri opened his mouth to speak. The current Lord Adri is the scariest. Tell me about the situation there. Adri turned his neck and asked while exercising his muscles and bones. No. Immediately stepped forward and replied respectfully, there are already signs of that over there, mainly radicals. Adri's eyes became dangerous, and things were getting in his way. Do you have to go? Yes, my lord, you still need to suppress this passage yourself, after all, it is not very stable, for the sake of the Foundation in the future. Then I will treat it as an activity. After all, it is rare that the two boys are not around, so I have to find some entertainment. When it comes to Doflamingo and Rosindi, no. Can clearly feel the joy of his adults, so he decides to care about it. Aren't you worried about the two young masters? Both of them, don't worry, will my son be simple? I'm not worried about their safety. No. Smiled when he heard the answer, and then withdrew. He knew very well in his heart how much his parents loved his children. When he knew that Germa had planned on the children, Adri crossed many places at once to save time. Moreover, did he know that although the adults said before that it was their personal experience, if they were really wronged, the adults would let the other party know what life and death are. Besides, Master Adri would not allow anyone to endanger the lives of the young masters, otherwise why would he have never seen No? And No? Adri sat alone in a chair, lost in thought. After all, he also knew that the place where Doflamingo and the others went was not peaceful. I just let them find their feelings. Children always have to go through the baptism of society. And the other side. On a ship sailing on the boundless sea. Doflamingo and Rosanetti were staying in their room at this time. Doflamingo frowned, looking at the list in front of him. Brother, what's the content on it? Rosindi was eating ice cream, sitting on the edge of the bed, dangling her legs. Doflamingo handed the list to Rosindi. You can see for yourself, but it seems that we are not going to simply take a stroll this time. Rosindi put down the ice cream in his hand, took the ice cream scoop in his mouth, took the list, and his face was a little ugly, and then the list was still on the table, and continued to pick up the ice cream and ate it. It's a little troublesome. It's rare for father to have such troublesome things. No wonder he called us. Doflamingo didn't say anything, but just glanced at Rosindi, and reminded in a deep voice. Rosindi, this is your first ice cream. Not many copies. Luoshindi glanced at the messy ice cream packages on the table with a guilty conscience, and put down her ice cream again. Doflamingo looked at his younger brother helplessly, and said, you will have a stomachache if you do this, and maybe you will have tooth decay. Rosindi tidied up all the things she ate, and broke the ice cream scoop in anger. Looking at his silly brother, Doflamingo could only sigh and stepped forward, took out a handkerchief and vigorously wiped off Rosindi's painted face, and then sat next to Rosindi. Rosie, would the auction be of interest? Okay. There just happens to be an auction over there. If we settle things quickly, we'll go and have a look. Auction? Maybe something will catch my eye, and next month. Indeed. There should be something suitable. That's just right. Then let's try to finish things as early as possible and go there to have a look, right? Doflamingo patted Rosindi on the head, but Rosindi interrupted mercilessly. Please, it's fine if father likes to do it. Even you like to do it. If I don't grow taller, I'll depend on you. Seeing Rosindi's accusation, Doflamingo smiled mischievously. Anyway, no matter how tall you are, you won't be as tall as me. Oomph, wait and see. And just as the two cubs were bickering, there was commotion outside. Because the two did not take the merchant ship of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, but an ordinary ship, but the movement outside became more and more loud. Not long ago, the pirates were eyeing the ship and had already launched an attack. When Doflamingo and Rosanetti realized something was wrong, the crew outside was calling everyone to be shocked. When Doflamingo heard that there were pirates coming again, he couldn't help feeling his luck. He could only say that he was destined to be with pirates this year. Looks like we're being attacked by pirates again, Rossi. Yeah. No one will protect you this time. Oomph, don't underestimate me. Okay, let's take a look at the situation first. Doflamingo and Rosindi mixed into the crowd, and the crew members were still trying their best to appease the passengers, saying that the Navy would arrive soon, and the outside was struggling to resist. Doflamingo just sneered at this, but the people nearby seemed to be more stable, and the Navy was a big expectation in their hearts. Some people even started talking about the new star of the Navy recently. I heard that the North Sea Navy has recently released 2 newcomers with great potential. One of the newcomers is not only powerful, but also very ruthless in chasing and killing pirates, which made many small pirates calm down for a while. As for what this group of people don't know, these 2 sailors went to the Navy headquarters to participate in training a few years ago. Because of Beihai's birth, the 2 recently graduated were once again employed in Beihai for a period of time. Unfortunately, the pirates outside happened to run into these 2 navies who had just returned. But Rosindi still asked Doflamingo with some trepidation in Isan, "Are we going to make a move?" "Don't worry, Rossi, let's take a look. Didn't they say that the Navy is coming soon? Let's go and have a look." Rosindi nodded, although he also knew very well that Doflamingo would not feel anything when the people on this ship died, and Rosindi would not be idle and do something. Adri said that his own life is the most important, but it can't change Rosindi's worries about ordinary people. There was another collision, and Doflamingo and Rocinante had already arrived on the deck, and some pirates on board had already fought with the crew. Some crew members saw Doflamingo and Rocinante coming to the deck and shouted to those 2 boys, "Go inside quickly, it's dangerous here." But Doflamingo ignored it, and the crew member didn't pay attention because of the pirates. Looking at the chaos, Doflamingo couldn't help but shook his head and complained. "It's not as intense as we experienced at the beginning." "Really?" Rosindi couldn't help but add. Also at this moment, a pirate who was at a disadvantage saw Doflamingo and Rosindi, and rushed towards them. The crew who fought with him also quickly reminded the 2 to avoid. Looking at the pirate who was running towards them, Rocinante felt sorry for the pirate. It was too bold to face the 2 of them with a knife on the other side. Facing the attack of the pirates, Rocinante and Doflamingo stayed where they were in tacit understanding, silently watching the laughing pirates and the crew members rushing after them. But the pirate who was coming at this time was still rejoicing. He didn't expect to meet 2 children, and the clothes and temperament of the other party were not bad, so they must be the young masters of a rich family. The pirate who was thinking about hijacking for money became more and more excited. As he got closer, he didn't realize that Doflamingo was already preparing to manipulate the silk thread. Just when Doflamingo decided to kill the idiot pirate, a beam of golden light quickly disappeared in front of him, and the original pirate was also hit on the pillar at that moment. At this moment in front of them was a white cloak with the words "Justice." End of this chapter.